What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of SCUM. This is, of course, the podcast where we dive into the deepest, the darkest, the murkiest waters, even murkier than the Blue Lagoon, from which I come from. That's right. We dive in with the coolest guests, and who better to do that than the hottest host, yours truly, Rex Ruger. That's Rex with 3 X's. Count them, y'all. 1, 2, 3, because they only give them to the dirtiest players in the game. And that is me, a.k.a. the man with the golden voice and the velvet tongue, a.k.a. the hair metal high priest, a.k.a. the king of sleaze, and most importantly, last but certainly not least, a.k.a. Diamond David Lee Roth Jr., and we are at the finish line, folks. The DNA testing will be here soon, and it will be conclusive. I mean, take one look. Is there any doubt that I am the son of glam? The front man for the band. Just smoked a lot of grams. Got 1 million fans. Mr. Wop Bop Baloo Bop Wop Bang Boom Shazam. Hot damn. Wobbity Boo Bop 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 Ba-doo Bop Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Woo! I'm feeling good. As I mentioned earlier, man, I am the #1 scumbag right here, baby. Take one look. The hardest working man in show business, bringing you this podcast and fronting several glam and sleaze bands up and down the eastern seaboard. And before I forget, let me do a little product placement here. If you too want the locks that rock, get the product that does it all, folks. Let me give myself a look before we get our guests in here. And of course, we get you the best guest because this is the No Frills podcast. I'm 49 years old. There's no time for frills. There's no time for animation. There's no time for glitchy, cute little technological, things jumping around and making noise and bells and whistles. You don't get no frills because you get the thrills of looking at the rock god right here. And of course, I still am looking for interested individuals to play with me in my band, Love Sword, of which you will be part of the greatest backing band ever, playing behind the greatest frontman ever. Second best behind my pops, of course. And this is the No Frills podcast because you get to see me interview, you do get to see me interview, but you also get to see me invite my guests. There's no hiding behind the curtain here, You see it all, warts and all. And we got a good one for you today, I hope. Again, legendary guests, check. Sunkissed Diet Soda, more product placement, check. Sexy host, woo, big check. And here we go. Guests, check. There he is.
Hey, I did it.
Look at that beard, looking good. You brought it today, man. You got it all.
There, I get it in all its glory.
Yeah, you got it in all its glory, man. Kevin from the great, and I'll toot your horn for you. The great Stoned Evergreen Travelers. This is a band that's great.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it, man. We worked hard.
Now, I've talked to you on here before. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of a mishap, which I won't bore the audience with, man. But your better half had come on that time. So where's the better half today?
She's working today.
Oh, man. On a Sunday, huh? Brutal.
Yeah. We went out and had some, fun this weekend and all that good stuff. So she's catching up and it's fun stuff at work today for her. So it's not like it's too hard. She enjoys it.
Well, fun stuff is always a part of your day, right? Because you, if I remember correctly, you work in the marijuana industry, right?
Yeah, I do, sir. I make a lot of joints for the state of Washington.
And when you say you make joints for the state of Washington, now remind me now, are you actually making joints?
Yeah, I run a joint machine. It actually makes, we run our papers through it after I grind the material, and
right,
and it's a little carnival ride for weed is what I call it.
Nice, nice.
And a little carousel, and I think we're just about. I've been running this machine for about a year, and I'm just about ready to cross 750,000 joints I've made.
Wow. Wow. So you're one of those kind of people that work in the industry where you can say, just like McDonald's, lots of satisfied customers, right?
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
I've gotten to the point now where as a 49-year-old man, I'm not smoking as heavy as I used to. Like usually after a work day, I work in healthcare, so I'm a nurse. So by the time I get home at the end of the day, I like to decompress and in a different way, and then go out and smoke towards the end of the night. And but some days when it's the weekends, like now, then my son-in-law and my son both came over, and they get me ruined way too early in the day. I mean, I'm fucking high beyond belief right now doing this with you. I mean, it's and that's a lot of consumption for me. Like once we all start really getting in there and rolling and all matching up with each other, I mean, it winds up more than I'm usually used to on a typical day for me.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's weird. This is in my 40 years of in the work industry, I guess. Yeah. It's weird that I work in the cannabis industry and it's the first job I don't smoke weed at.
Really?
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing, man. Super, super weird.
So you don't, so you mean there's no point in time when you're at work and you're high?
Nope, never. No. Yeah, it's my first job. I mean, as soon as I get home, it's on, for the rest of the day. I have little edibles that I like to eat and then smoke, my vape pens. I choose flower. Flower is my thing.
Yeah, I should. Yeah.
And
why flower now? Why would you recommend flower to the people out there? And explain what that means to those people out there who may be naive to the, to the industry.
Yeah, flower is just the actual buds, the bud plant.
Right.
And I don't know, man. I love the smell of weed.
Yeah.
I love the smell of burning weed. I love the taste of weed. It's just I love the visual of a weed, man. I love looking at the flower. I love looking at the plant. I love the leaves. I love everything about it. It's just it's a natural wonder. I mean, it's a pure natural wonder. And
are you able to harken back to your earliest recollection of of any of your first highs and like what they were like?
Yeah, man. Actually, I was one of those people that got fucking stoned the very first time I tried.
Yeah.
And it was at a band practice. It was a band practice, amazingly enough.
Yeah.
And I fell in love like right away, man.
Yeah.
I grew up in a small Eastern Washington town. It's a little bit bigger now, but it was a farming community over in Eastern Washington, Walla Walla, Washington. And I spent most of my life taking seeds and stems out of my weed.
Right.
It was brown back then. It smelled like shit. Probably was.
Sure. Yeah. I very much remember those days. I do.
Smoke an ounce to get a buzz, and mostly you got a headache.
Yeah. Yep.
But when that green Chila came through, man, the phone calls. It was like the red phone.
Yeah. He's got the weed.
Yeah, it's like, I got an ounce. If you want some, you better get here now, kind of shit.
Yeah.
So I mean, I do remember some of my and in fact, I mean, old school skunk #1 was one of my first green, and that's one thing that I feel, and I don't know if it's because it's more legal or whatever. The one thing that I've noticed about weed, and I mean, it's any brand I try anywhere.
Yeah.
The smell isn't like, back in the day when you were trying to hide your weed, you'd have, the size of a bong hit, and you're trying to hide it in your room, and your room just fucking
reeks. Yeah.
And it's I feel like the newer weed, I don't know if it's because it's overbred, because there used to be like 10 strains back in the 80s.
Right. I know. Yeah, that's true. And now there's God knows unlimited, it seems like.
Oh man, it's the names that come through our shop. I'm just like, fuck. It's like now they're not even trying,
I know. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So now getting into talking about the band, Stoned Evergreen Travelers. This is something rare in music, and I guess I didn't even realize it and couldn't put my finger on it right away either. But the dynamic of two guys and two girls in a band, I'm trying to think of another band that's done that in the hard rock, and I guess I would consider you guys hard rock. I know you guys have a very specific sound, and you guys, it is a very eclectic. You know, what was the term for it?
Hellbilly.
Huh?
Hellbilly is usually
Hellbilly. Yes.
Which was a genre created more by Hank Williams III, decade, probably a couple decades ago, really.
Okay. But so you guys are following in that tradition. But how does that dynamic work as far as like being on the road? And I know that you're married to TJ, one of the female members of the band. But just how does that dynamic work as far as like the creative process? Because obviously you're dealing with two different types of individuals in the way that men and women, think. And I'm not putting one down more than the other. They just have different ways of attacking things. How do you find that in the creative process?
Honestly, I think, gender all aside, I musically, we're all on the same page. We all love the same music. I mean, when you look at all our combination of our influences, we're all about 90% into the same realms and like the same things. And, I just feel like, we just gel as musicians and artists, and honestly, to tell you the truth, up until now, I've actually never really even thought about it. It was just, we're best friends, bandmates. We've seen it all together, and, we just crushed it together. I kind of, I played in, this is the first, band that I played in that has, male and female in it. I honestly, I don't really feel like there's a difference between the two. I feel, they're both there to fucking rock, and they're both get in a van and not shower for days on end. And we all just, man, we're out to live, and I feel like it's we're all on the same page. We just do so well together that I mean, it's just rock star. I mean, it's perfect.
Let's see Jennifer Lopez try that. Get in the van and not shower for a few days, huh?
Oh, yeah, man. It's
too
awesome.
big of a diva.
Yeah, that's right, man. It's we're a rock and roll, and I appreciate you actually calling us hard rock, because I mean that's kind of feel like what we are overall.
Well, I talk to a lot of musicians on here, and especially in the metal community, and you get a lot of these kids, very different from my generation, who are more like kind of snobbish about their metal and have created all these different like genres and subgenres. And God forbid you misstep and call somebody some genre that they're not, or that they're that these kids don't consider them. It just used to be kind of like your thrash and your death metal when I was growing up. You fit into one of those, but now there's the different cores: deathcore, grindcore, metalcore. You can't keep track of it all.
Yeah,
stoner metal. I saw stoner metal the other day. I was fortunate enough to talk to the guys from the band King, and stoner metal is apparently a thing. I asked them flat out. I'm just like, is your music enhanced at all by utilizing marijuana while listening to it?
I feel like all music is enhanced.
That's what he said. Same answer. Yeah.
And it's it's weird that there is, I've definitely heard the stoner metal, because I love bands like Weed Eater and Bongzilla, which are technically all the same bands, and Down, and the band Stoner and Caius and shit like that.
Yeah,
it's more like that was more Caius would probably consider more like desert rock, I guess. Right.
But then I start to think, is anything that's downtrodden and somber could be considered stoner? Because then you start looking at bands like an Alice in Chains. Why couldn't they be a stoner metal band? It's kind of very downtrodden, somber material.
I consider Pantera. And bands, of course, like Sleep and Ohm.
Yeah,
and a lot of the OGs. I Hate God, and I guess, I call it all stoner metal, or all music stoner, because I'm usually stoned when I'm listening to it. I mean, Pink Floyd, Rainbow and shit like that. I mean, it's funny. I mean, and the thing is, a lot of those bands, they probably all smoke weed too, it's a truthful, universal kind of thing. And,
I feel like 60s or 70s might have called it psychedelic rock, because the use of the psychedelics was a lot bigger back then, but
And
I feel like that would be comparable to stoner metal today.
Yeah, and I still take mushrooms here and there too. And
yeah,
absolutely. That's about that's the only two things I do anymore. I don't, I've been like, older, in the realm that we've been. It's definitely gone through all of it, but I've just narrowed it down to the two best ones. And
yes. Have you ever had what people would refer to in the drug vernacular as a bad trip?
So far, I have not. I mean, as far as us, coming and seeing us, or
no, a bad trip on shrooms, acid, anything like that, on any of your psychedelics. You know how people will say, "Oh, I dropped some acid and I had a bad trip." Have you yourself ever experienced a bad trip?
Yeah, actually, a matter of fact, with Rick Simpson oil. I don't know if you're familiar with Rick Simpson oil.
I'm not.
Okay, this is back in the 70s, this guy Rick Simpson had cancer, and it was one of those things that they didn't think he was going to survive from it, and blah blah blah. And
right.
And he was a weed enthusiast, and he created this. You can press marijuana, get your oils and everything.
Yep.
And he did it to where it was basically a high potency. Usually, the original Rick Simpson, when it's medical given, is usually like 98.9 to 99.9%. So by that being, it's like it's powerful enough when you do the dosage. There's actually a dosage chart for that, and and he kicked cancer, and it was all, he didn't do any other medication other than this Rick Simpson oil, and it's super aggressive, potent stuff. When the guy looked at me, he goes, "You look like a professional." So he goes, "I'm going to bring this out to you," and he's like, he says no larger than a grain of rice, as far as a dosage.
Right.
And I had one of those. Yeah, and I had one of those moments where I was like, it comes in a syringe, and I was putting it on bread. And I pop out about a fucking lima bean size blob. And I'm like, fuck, man, I've done this before. I'll take this. And, and TJ's family was over, for the Christmas thing. We went out to dinner, and it kicked in the restaurant, man. I fucking freaked out. I ran out and ran out of the restaurant and got home, and I'm just like, just flipping out. And then we get home, and they're like, "Well, let's open presents." And I'm just like, "Oh my God." Yeah. I actually ran upstairs and went into the bedroom, and TJ actually came in. She goes, "Are you okay? What's going on?" It's like, "Call an ambulance. Why would they make this?" And, in the right form, she's like, "You're a dumbass. I'll come and check on you after a little while."
Yeah. So where do you find this Rick Simpson oil? What is this, something you can order online? This stuff sounds like it should be outlawed.
Well, it's still, you can get it, because this was back when it was still separated, when it was medical dispensaries and recreational.
Okay.
And, the guy just happened, when he looked at me, he was like, "Here, I'm gonna get you something," and you can get it now, but it's a lot less potent now. It's like they brought it down to 68% or whatever. It's a little bit.
And this is oil that's getting extracted out of marijuana.
Yeah, this is all just marijuana. How you process it. When we do oil, we do oil too. And when we process our oil, we're hitting like the high 90s in percentage.
Shit.
Yeah, this is kid shit, dude. I mean, I dabbed. Yeah, have you dabbed before?
Yes. Yeah.
That one fucking time, and I was like, that's. I love being high. There really is too fucking high.
Yeah, there is. There really is. I mean, maybe a lot of extremists would fucking call us wussies, you know what I mean? But yeah, if something if something gets me to the point where I'm freaked out, then it ceases to be enjoyable. You know what I mean? Like, so what you're explaining though, man, is I want to clarify that this Rick Simpson oil though was pressed from marijuana, but it had a hallucinogenic effect on you?
Fuck, dude, I don't even know how to explain it, man. It was fucking wild is what it was. I mean,
what got you freaking out in the restaurant? Like, was it one particular thing that you zeroed in on, or something that happened that freaked you out?
It was everything. It was the environment, people, the noise, the lights. I mean, it was it was like my senses were just at 1,000%, like, you know, over, like, just about ready to, when you feel like a machine's about ready to blow up, you know.
You're running in the red.
And you know, and it took about, I mean, the great thing about weed is, you know, we had a friend who's a nurse, and we asked him, it's like, so what do you do with weed overdose? And he goes, oh, we just put them in a room by themselves, and then we check on them about every 15 minutes, just remind them that they're high, and then about 2 hours they let them out, you know. So
remind them that they're high. As if being locked in this room hasn't reminded them enough of this awful night, you know.
Exactly. But, you know, I've also, you know, I had a really bad trip on acid too, and it was actually my 3rd time taking acid. I mean, I pretty much did that and quit. And and I don't know if I wouldn't call this an overdose, but I would call it basically the second day after a meth binge. You know, that wasn't fucking exciting for the last, you know, 3 days.
No. I don't want anything that lasts that long, for God's sake. You know, like that's cutting too much into my calendar. I don't know if I could find in my busy life right now, between work and grandkids, everything that goes on, you know, a lot of it is just finding the sheer time to enjoy that elongated of a high. You know, I mean, it's all of a sudden, man, you start dropping acid, and you're talking about you've got to put aside a day. You know, I mean,
the good thing about it is it's great for fucking songs, man. I mean,
I imagine it would be for that. Yeah, I imagine.
On our psychedelic bloodbath album, the song "Stranger in Control," that whole song is based on my Rick Simpson ordeal.
Oh, okay. So you got something out of that experience then, at least. I mean,
no, there's always an experience. I mean, that's the joys of you know, especially being more hard rock and metal. It's like you really, you know, the harsh moments are the best influence for lyrics, because, you know, it's like you're looking for those punishing lyrics, and you know, and those dark lyrics. And I mean, and when you're dragging the bottom, you know, that's the best place to pick up lyrics.
Sure. Now, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, you know, because I used to be a heavy drinker too, and you know, it created a lot of health problems and everything. And you know, it's been 6 years since I quit drinking, and you know, we're writing our new album, and I'm actually, for the first time, I have a container where I have like lyrics that's that thick, and when I go back, and they're all my alcohol repressive days, and it's just like, fuck, dude, I'm just they're too depressing for me now. So I'm actually like finding new avenues of ways to write music, because I had to learn how to do so many things again. And writing lyrics was one thing that alcohol was my best source of lyrics. I've been getting more into you know, I've always been into horror movies. I love, you know, since the 80s badge. Back then, I'm watching a bad dog soldiers after this. It's a werewolf movie. I love werewolves, man. I love werewolves.
So you'll even watch a horror movie if it was panned by critics and was considered awful or cheesy. You'll watch those ones too?
That means it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I usually find that to be true too. Yeah.
The worse the review, the better the movie. That's
absolutely. So I was looking at a list. Now, you guys are from Washington, the state of Washington. And I think we touched on this before. A lot of serial killers up that way, you know, a lot of bodies buried up there.
Source of lyrical content.
Is that the source of lyrical content, though? A big source of the lyrical content is a lot of the stuff that's happened in your home state of Washington.
Yeah, not just home state, but all over the world. I'm kind of a little bit obsessed with H.H. Holmes. You know, especially since the conspiracy is that they think that H.H. Holmes, which is the first documented serial killer out of Chicago in the late 1800s, especially during when it was the Chicago World's Fair, was he went on a rampage during that, because he had are you familiar with H.H. Holmes?
A little bit. I do like the true crime and the serial killer stuff, but it sounds like you're speaking from much more of a point of expert. So
yeah, in fact, the American Horror story, the one that was the hotel, when they were in the hotel.
Yeah, yep.
Whole hotel, and actually the one main character, his character was based off H.H. Holmes, but he built a murder motel where it had trap doors and elevators and all this other shit. And he would lure people in and they would disappear. And back then it was much easier to get away with murder because, you know,
almost like a real life House of Horrors, like a Saw, almost like a Saw type deal.
Yeah, it was 100% legit, you know, and there was a point in time where he traveled with aliases, and they kind of tracked his aliases because you know the whole Jack the Ripper was just a short, you know, kind of process.
Right.
And a lot of H.H. Holmes murders kind of had that same kind of forte. And they tracked his aliases of going and coming from England about that time.
Yep.
And then there was also a string after the England murders. There was a string of murders throughout the United States that followed the same MO. And they also tracked that was at a period of time when he was traveling at that point in time too.
Right.
So there's obviously it's hard to like, you know, solidify that. I'm convinced he was Jack the Ripper.
Really?
You know? Yeah, absolutely.
What's your theory on it, huh?
Yeah. I think so. I think when you look at evidence, and we've watched enough documentaries on H.H. Holmes, that when you look at that, man, it's like I'm convinced. I mean, I'm convinced. Their evidence sold me.
Yeah.
You know,
and
I'm kind of trying to figure out how to, you know, write around that too. And you know, and I think we talked about last time is I actually have a goal of a concept album that's going to be called Serial Killers, where where I picked in, you know, and I'm never going to mention the serial killers in the song. It's always going to be tongue in cheek, and it's not always going to be about them. It'll be about the families that were affected, or the police, or the communities
coming at it from a different angle. I like that. Yeah.
And they have that, you know, it's pretty dark shit. I mean, but you know, serial killers are fucking interesting, man. They're a different breed of person, and I think, you know, people are like, well, serial killers are kind of a new thing in the last couple centuries. But, you know, I thought about it, you know, it's like before modern warfare, most warfare was hand-to-hand combat.
Sure. Yeah.
And if you think about it, man, it's like back in those days, they were given the plethora of being able to feed their hunger.
Yeah.
So, you know, once things kind of changed in societies, it created a new platform for them to have to fill their void. And up until that point, you know, just because of warfare and the way that it was easy to be
And you make a good point. You make a good point too. Like if you look at somebody like Miyamoto Musashi, couldn't he be a serial killer? I mean, he's a samurai going around battling people and chopping off people's heads. You know, I mean, you know, just because it's a different time.
Yeah, the Book of the Five Rings. Yeah.
I mean, but he's technically, he ended a lot of people's lives, closed the book on a lot of motherfuckers. That's for sure. You know, I mean,
and samurais, that was their life. That was their life, you know, and I mean, I totally think that, you know, they were able to, like, oh shit, I love to kill people. It's like, well, I'm gonna go fuck them in the military, or you know, or militias, or whatever, or samurai, or you know, knights of the fucking round table, or shit like that. I mean,
so if you had to put, let me play devil's advocate here. If you had to put four faces up on a serial killer Mount Rushmore, who's up there?
Oh God, definitely H.H. Holmes.
Okay.
That would be for sure. You know, probably Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
Just Wayne Gacy.
Gacy's up there. Okay.
Definitely a bad man. I mean, probably Ted Bundy. I mean, those are. I mean,
in the pantheon of serial killers, those guys all seem to have become household names. You know, they all, for sure.
Yeah, and absolutely, you know, and it's an easy source of lyrics, you know, and stuff like that. You know, I'm kind of, you know, those are, I mean, we watch so much serial killers. In fact, we actually another song off Psychedelic Bloodbath, Hand of God.
Yep.
He wasn't a serial killer, but he was just a piece of shit. We watched it was like, you know, those true murder things.
Right.
That song was based off a guy named John List, and he was a guy that he was hardcore Christian. I mean, hardcore.
Yeah, remind me of the details on it, because that name sounds very familiar. What did he do?
Well, he felt that his family were turning their backs on religion. He kind of felt like they were losing their faith.
Yeah.
So he decided to murder his entire family. I mean, children, his wife, and the most diabolical part about it was he murdered his daughter and his wife, and then went to his son's freaking soccer game. I might have had it backwards. I mean, it was either his son or daughter, but
yeah,
he murdered them and then went to the other child's soccer game, watched the game, brought him back, and then murdered him after the fact too.
Wow.
And then locked up the house, and then he left the home radio on a gospel music channel, just blaring. And it was a few weeks before neighbors started, like, okay, that's been going on for a while, because they were a very reclusive family just because of their faith, and they were just
right. The town weirdos, probably.
Yeah, town weirdos, and he actually got away with it for I think it was almost 30 years before they actually caught him.
But he did get caught.
Yeah, he got caught, and he'd moved, remarried, had a new family, and all that stuff. But I was just like, man, what a piece of shit,
Yeah, especially the family part. I mean, murdering anybody, man. But I mean, how you can turn on your family in cold blood just boggles my mind. You're a special kind of fucking touched in the head to do that.
Yeah, especially when you're, those crazy ass. I mean, I don't knock on anybody for being religious. I mean, because there's a lot of great religious people. People that have found themselves in the gutter, they find God and make themselves better. I mean, whatever works. But then you get those people.
Yeah. If you want to call them that, yeah.
Crazy. They could do that to their own family in the name of, somebody that's supposed to be the light, or and it obviously says right there in the 10 Commandments, if you says thou shalt not kill.
It's pretty obvious. Yeah, that one was carved out one thing I want to ask you about that I think is interesting. I've got just a short list here of some people who you cited as idols as far as from a singing standpoint. And Dio is obviously one that would be on a lot of people's list. But the one that surprised me the most that I don't think he gets enough credit for is Mike Patton. A lot of people don't realize the genius and the great voice of Mike Patton. Of course, we're talking Mike Patton from, people would know him most from Faith No More, I'm sure, but some great Mr. Bungle albums. He's done a bunch of great shit. He's done some solo shit. Huh?
Yeah. Phantom Moss is another good one. He started with Dave Lombardo.
But he's a guy that can really sing.
Yeah, and I mean, I have, all my favorite vocalists, Dio being number one.
Right.
But I think, as far as the way I kind of created, it's weird because, it's not even my favorite, my all-time favorite band. I had finally come to the conclusion of my two favorite bands of Testament and Tesla.
Testament and Tesla?
Yeah, Tesla. A lot of it is just
I'm kicking myself because I could have went to the New York State Fair last night and seen Tesla for free, or at least for the admission of the state fair, which would have been $2 or $3. But duty called, and I was babysitting the grandkids. So they continue to elude me. I've not seen either one of them live, Testament or Tesla.
Yeah, I think Tesla is God. I'm in the 20s probably. I've missed them the last few times. They come over to casinos over here and it kills me.
Sure.
Because they have to do short sets. I mean, the sets are extremely short and everything. But yeah, I've since they did that very first tour with Def Leppard back in '88 on the Hysteria tour, that I was just straight out of the gate from when Modern Day Cowboy came out. I'm just like, fuck yeah, man, that's rock and roll. And feel like every album since then. And this is the same thing with Testament. It's they have every single one of their albums. I will listen and not fast forward a single song. I mean, it's consistent. And that's why they're my all-time favorites. But when it comes to the formula of the Travelers, I've always loved Faith No More, because when you put on an album, it's like, every song is them, but there's jazz, there's blues, there's metal, there's hip. I mean, it's just everything.
Yeah.
Right out of the gate, I didn't want to paint myself into a corner. I wanted to be able to do whatever I want at all times, and everybody, oh yeah, that's what they do. And especially the animation and range of Mike Patton.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, he can go from R&B to metal.
Yeah.
One phrase. I mean, he's, I think, a very overrated, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, probably.
Yeah.
But
I get pissed because I don't think that they get enough credit, for the footprint that they've made on rock and roll music. I feel like Faith No More has just been one of those bands that's just been criminally underrated over the years. Criminally. Yeah, no, I fully agree. And on that list, Brian Setzer is another guy that should be on that criminal list. Yeah.
Not enough praise and glory for his genius. Because it's probably hands down one of the best guitar players on the planet. And a voice that is just, he's on my list. I mean, now when you just mentioned, I think these are your words, I think I finally figured out that Testament and Tesla are my favorite bands. I'm getting the impression when you make a statement like that, and I'm very guilty of doing this too. Do sometimes you wrestle with who your favorite bands are because you're just always falling in love with fucking music all the time, and you think, God damn, I may have found like that, because I have bands I very much have championed their cause, and my enthusiasm for them has not ever waned. But then sometimes I wonder, are they really my favorite band? Because all of a sudden I'll hear something. Maybe it's just because it's newer and fresher, and you're looking for stuff to grasp onto to excite you. Is that what you feel sometimes? Yeah, I mean, because I've working with younger kids and in the metal scene, I've just found a new band to me, Orbit Culture, that I'm just like, holy fuck. I mean, right. Monstrous. And I mean, and I've always been a Gojira fan, but it's like, it feels like this year something happened and I've just gone on this Gojira. You become a Gojira super fan now. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I think why I go back to like Testament and Tesla, I think it just goes back to the statement of like, I don't think I've ever fast forward through a song, period. I'm never tired of a song, and it's their consistency of being consistent and true to themselves. They never followed, what a lot of bands do. It's like, like in the metal back in the 90s when Metallica did the Black Album, it's like all of a sudden every metal band wanted to be a pop star. Besides Slayer. Slayer is another band that I feel has been very true to themselves. Yeah. But a lot of these bands just kind of follow the trends, and I just kind of feel like they've just been so true to themselves, and it's just, and when you read interviews and people, you never see anybody bashing them for being assholes or no. They're always just great stories, and so it's cool, man. But yeah, I have my favorites, but I mean, I'm always have my ears open for. Me too. Yeah. Because I love music, pure and simple. Love all styles. I love hip hop. I love jazz. I love classical. I mean, I love show tunes, movie soundtracks. Yeah. I find myself getting on the Apple Music account, and I'll search for an artist. And the great thing is that if you scroll to the bottom, it'll give you artists that are kind of in that same vein. So you can always just keep on discovering, because then you can go to that band and scroll to the bottom of their thing, and there'll be a bunch more of them. I mean, you just feel like, so that being said, the music industry right now, not in the greatest of places. I think a lot of these people that are working in that area would. It's very tough to get any commercial success going right now. I mean, true or false? It's a difficult time right now to make money off your music, right? That is true, 100%. I mean, we know a lot of bands, and and honestly, it's tough here in America to be a band.
Yeah.
Because we have multiple friends that they'll go to Europe, and with travel expenses there and travel expenses back and travel expenses while you're there, they will go to Europe and play a packed house every night of the week.
Yeah.
They get taken care of by the venues at every venue.
Yeah.
They usually end up having drivers that actually drive them. They get paid well. They come back with more money doing all that in Europe than they could driving around to empty bars and unappreciated clubs around the United States and just get demoralized. I mean, you know, here in the United States, you got to be out on the road 365 days a year to even try to scrape by for a shitty living.
Yeah.
And then if you're not, you know, doing well, I mean, you have to have a day job. I mean, and around it. Because it was years ago. Are you familiar with the band Metal Church?
Oh yes, of course. Yeah.
So we used to rent a band room down here in Tacoma, and Dave, who sadly passed away a few years ago, he practiced as, you know, Metal Church right across the hall from us.
Yep.
He had this local Tacoma band called Faustus that kind of became his band. They're fucking badass. Tip of the hat to them. But, you know, I'd always talk with them because, you know, we'd be down at the band room, and back then I was doing a lot of Thai boxing, and we never got a chance, but we were gonna trade. I was gonna give him Thai boxing lessons. He was gonna give me vocal lessons, which would have been fabulous.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it just didn't work out because of this, you know, health issues and stuff. But we had that conversation, and I was like, I go, hey Dave, I go, why don't you? Do we plan on touring the United States and do anything around here? And he goes, no, fuck that. I goes, I only go to Europe and play shows. He goes, why would I go play a club for 20 people here in the United States when I can go play a festival in front of 20 to 30,000 in Europe?
Yeah, he's right. Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, you look back, I mean, Jimi Hendrix, Europe made him famous.
Yeah.
Stray Cats made Stray Cats famous. I mean, they had the same stories. They had to go to freaking Europe to get a career.
Yeah.
And you think about that. I mean, we're talking back in the 60s and 70s, that even back then, I mean, the Doors, I mean, you name it. And then America just kind of, I guess I'm sitting here making bears passion on America, but it's not, it's like facts.
Yeah.
It's freaking facts.
No, I've discussed this with other guests, you know, especially from metal bands, you know, about the difference between the American and the European audiences. And I don't think it's any secret, you know, just how rabid those fans are. You know, they're a different kind of rabid at those festivals. And I think it just goes to show just the sheer volume of festivals that they have over there in comparison to us. You know, I mean, all the great ones that are over there. You know, Bloodstock and Hellfest, and you know, even the more like the Roskilde and Pink Pop, and you know, they seem to get it over there, and you know, they seem to be, I don't know, they just seem to be. When I look at live footage on YouTube, I see more fans enjoying the moment, and I just see more people standing around in the American crowds. You know, there's just a lot more.
Yeah, we just had this conversation this morning. We were watching we were watching Gojira, of course, and it was one of their in Poland. It was Poland Fest. It was a festival in Poland, and before Gojira even comes out, there is a freaking circle pit. I mean, they walk out on stage to a circle pit already.
People are pre-gaming.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, don't get me wrong. I mean, you know, we went to, you know, the Bay Area Strikes Back, you know, the Death Angel, Exodus Testament, which
great package out there. Yeah.
And, that was a great giant circle pit, man. I mean, there better be some to bring it, but you know, that was an old school crowd. I mean, you know, I mean, yeah, because I remember going back. I mean, we were just talking about, you know, Pantera, you know. Back when I saw him back in the early 90s, man, it was just like, that was like one of the most dangerous fucking shows I've ever been to.
Yeah. Those pits were legendary. Yeah.
And, you know, when we go to a lot of shows, and, Yeah, it's just like, it's like you watch a lot of like videos, live concerts, and a lot of times when you see the American ones, it's like, people are there, they enjoy it, they scream. But when you see those European crowds or South American
It's a
crowds,
different kind of energy. Yeah.
it's fucking there. I mean, just yeah, I mean, like the soccer games over there. I mean, those crowds.
I know. You can go to one of those and get killed.
Yeah, exactly. It's different. I mean, not bashing on America, man, but I just kind of feel like our priorities are fucked up here as far as what's popular. I mean, just look what's up, what's popular on TV or music, and it's just like, real rock and roll is just unpresent.
Well, and I think the way it affects the music business is because you're really starting to see it as far as like the platforms to release music on. You're seeing it really start to become, which is why it's refreshing to see bands still putting out a fully realized album, because a lot of people are either going the EP route or they're going singles driven because they want to just keep their name out there, because the attention span nowadays is so short that the minute you're not on people's lips no more, you're forgotten about if you've gone 6 months or a year without putting something out. Legendary bands, I guess, can get away with it. I guess you can be a Metallica and put out an album every 8 years, and that's okay, but who can really reach that status anymore, though? Bands from that era could, man, but nobody can deal with that lack of inactivity anymore. It's too hard. I mean, you're yesterday's news.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. It's just like to stay viable, if that's even the right word. But I mean, you just really gotta just always be in their face. We're always thinking of new ways of just staying engaged, because we don't have the luxury of a bank account and time to go do studio work and keep that kind of thing rolling on a regular basis. So we're always just trying to think of new ways of doing via videos or just new merch designs or
Well, what I find fascinating and marketable about you guys, though, specifically, and for people that don't know, Stoned Evergreen Travelers is what you referred to. Those are your words, as hellbilly music. But I mean, to really break that down, though, you guys have found like a nice happy marriage of pretty straightforward, metal. When I listen to it, I hear, remnants of like a Motorhead type sound fused together with some good, outlaw country music. And those are two very loyal genres. I feel like the metal community and the country music community are very loyal. And I think sometimes, what potentially could work great for you guys is that you do have a dynamic, as I mentioned earlier, of having two guys, two girls. TJ, your wife, plays a stand-up bass. The other girl plays a kick-ass fiddle. You kind of have, like, for lack of a better word, I don't want to say a gimmick or a niche, but you guys have something that sets you guys apart from what a lot of other bands are doing. So is it frustrating when you have created something? I don't know, you don't take credit for creating the hellbilly sound per se, but perfecting it and seeing it all the way through and having the dynamics and all the ingredients that I just mentioned. Is it frustrating when that commercial success like still eludes you? Like, do you sit around and think, God, we've got a good thing going that not a lot of other people are doing right now, and we're sitting right in between two very loyal audiences?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's every day you look in the mirror and like, what the fuck are you doing wrong? I mean, it really is extremely frustrating. And
I'm not tooting your horn because you're on here, but that's a very, very, very eclectic, unique sound that you guys have crafted. I mean, and not everybody is out there doing that. Those are two genres that you don't think of always being a very happy marriage. Obviously, we've seen like the metal and the rap stuff be fused together with the Korns and the Limp Bizkits and the Downsets and bands like that. But what you guys do is very unique, and the market doesn't seem oversaturated with it.
Yeah, and it's true too. I mean, we've started to see it a little bit more, because Hank 3 did it for decades. I mean, he is, as far as I'm concerned, the grandfather of that genre.
Right.
I mean, he could even look back at Waylon Jennings. A lot of those guys, they were the same thing. They just weren't as heavy with tones per se.
Sure. Right.
But there are other influences of good friends, a band called Sawyer Family, which it hasn't really put anything out. They were a lot like that also. And then Hank 4 and the Strange Band, they've been touring, and they're doing the kind of like the same thing with metal So I kind of feel like it's kind of catching on. We have good friends, a band, the Goddamn Gallows, from your side of the world. They're out of Michigan, Chicago area.
Okay.
They've been hardcore like that they've been big influences on us too. I mean, they're truly great musicians that kind of came from the punk background and then went the hillbilly route. And then created this badass kind of metal. They had the upright bass, banjo. They had an accordion there, but it's very aggressive. I consider them a metal rock band too.
Right.
They've been very, very influential and forefathers for the style. But it does get definitely frustrating because sometimes I kind of feel like maybe how we look and what we're doing kind of sometimes takes away from the actual them looking at the music and just paying attention to music.
I think it's all part of the image, though. You know what I mean? Like, what draws me to it, man, is the visual the visual aesthetic, because it's not common. You've got that big old fucking crazy beard. Your fucking fiddle player is fucking dressed like a sexy dominatrix. There is a thing going on there. There's very much a visual thing that's not to be overlooked. I think it is important, but I don't think that one should take precedent over the other. I mean, obviously the music should always be the master or whatever, but it certainly lends itself, to the whole thing. I mean, very much like Kiss. It didn't seem like people gave a shit when they wiped the makeup off in the 80s. People wanted it back on because otherwise they were just four Jewish guys that were just an okay rock band. I mean,
and don't get me wrong. I mean, we definitely accept it and we use it. It's because it is part of it. Yeah, absolutely. I do agree. And and we're trying to be more progressive and staying true to what we're doing. And the nice thing about the metal industry and the country industry is I've always kind of felt like those were two industries where an old bald gray bearded man like myself might still have an opportunity as
absolutely
someone, a career. I would just like to be able to like have a part-time job and play music full time.
Right. Well, I haven't been exposed to a lot of country music in the live setting, but I imagine that very much like if I tootle off to a metal show, I always find. And my son actually razzed me about this, about going to a concert, probably because in his generation, like this probably to him seems very sad, but then I'll roll to a concert by myself. But I'm not going to let a chance go by to see somebody if I can't find some companionship for the night. If I can't find a bro to go along with me, I'm still going to go, though. You know what I mean? I'm not going to let it, because I find when you get there, the metal community is very welcoming. Someone will comment on your shirt or a patch on your jacket or this or that. And all of a sudden, you're hanging with a group of guys like for a night. You know what I mean? Even if you roll their solo, there's a certain camaraderie and a certain bonding in that metal community. And so being a part of that is nice. And I imagine from what I've heard, it's very much the same in the country music world, too.
Oh yeah, especially in our little outlaw scene, man. Me and TJ, we've gone over to down to Tennessee to a festival called Muddy Roots Festival.
Yeah.
That started 2010. I played it back in 2011, and then we've been there twice before after, and we've just gone by ourselves, and we've always it's always been very welcoming. Yeah. I mean, you get the hipsters, crowds, and the hardcores be like, oh, we're the ones that, we don't want anybody else in.
Yeah.
But overall, it's always been a fantastic, especially with the bands.
Yeah.
The bands have generally overall always been super cool.
Right.
And it is a great community. I mean, I'm very appreciative with the people I've been able to play with, meet. Out on the road where I'm just earlier today, I was talking with a gentleman from Minnesota that's, because, we're coming, we're playing a festival in May in Chicago called the Moonrunners Festival.
Okay.
And we're trying to, we're getting back out on the road again. Next spring, we'll have our new album.
Okay.
We're going to come out with a new album. It's going to be perfect because we're going to be coming out with, we got a whole shit ton of new merch we're coming out with.
Awesome.
We're going to have our new album. We're doing some videos, some promotions. We're actually, I'm still trying to figure out how the logistics, but I want to kind of do a short movie.
Nice.
I think we might have talked about that earlier. You know,
and it'll be chronicling what? This little tour, or
it's going to be kind of like a parody. It's like we're a serial killer band, traveling serial killer band. You know, so of course
we did talk about it last time because I told you about the California movie, California with a K.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Was that Brad Pitt and Juliette Lewis?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a big dream of mine. Hopefully nobody steals it. I will find anybody that does. And
he's from Washington State, people. He's got plenty of places to get rid of your body. I mean, look at that face. There's no doubt he'll do it.
Oh, I know a lot of places in the West Side too. So
yeah, you better believe he does. Yeah.
You know, so
a guy with a beard that long's got to know where a few bodies are.
Oh shit, yeah, bud. But yeah, we want to. I mean, our goal is to make it all the way over to you, man. I mean,
come on over. Yeah, I'll put on the Rex Ruger backyard festival.
Oh shit, yeah.
yeah. I can't promise there'll be much of an audience, but I mean, I'll do what I can.
Hey man, you know, we're used to that, you know, and we are a band that will perform to 2 people like there was 10,000. I mean, we love.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that because somebody else had made a comment that I interviewed somewhere along the line. But what is your feeling when you do come out to a crowd that's you know, like let's say not exactly you know, what you expect it to be? Like you come out and like, you know, there's 10 or 20 drunks in hanging out there. Is it hard to really get up and deliver your brand of music, or do you just play it just like there's 100,000 people out there?
You know, it's the old school way of thinking. I mean, because, you know, even if you're, you know, in a, you know, a podunk little town in the backwoods of Nebraska,
right?
You never know, that person that you need to meet might be there. You know,
that's true.
Yeah. If you show up like a total, you know, prima donna dick, and it's like, oh, you know, this isn't fitting my, you know, then it kind of takes away the whole purpose of why you're there anyhow.
Yeah.
And we love to play. I mean, if the crowd is, you know, kind of, you know, lacking, or if anything, I mean, you know, that's one of the things I love about our band is like, we just look at each other and it's like, fuck man, let's play for each other. And we just have a good time. I mean, and because you never know, you might need that tank of gas, man. And there might be that one person there that buys that shirt that gives you that tank. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, you got to earn your keep, man. I mean, you know, if you're not busting your ass when it's in the bottom of the barrel and the shit, then you don't deserve anything past that. You know,
who's a band that you could see yourself, like if you could play like you know, if you could put your promoter hat on, so to speak, and you could come up with like a dream bill of like you guys in another band or two, you know what I mean, like a couple of openers, or you know, are there any bands out there who you see like, God, that would be like a fucking great show if we could be on the same bill as?
Oh God, Clutch is definitely one of them.
Okay.
Faith No More. I mean, as far as like if we're talking like little bigger names, bands or whatever, I mean, honestly, man, I'd jump on any bill with anybody.
Is that the big dream when you're a band at the level of your career that you're at, though? Is getting pulled, you know, to get on a mega band's you know, big tour? You know, obviously it can raise the profile of your band. And how do you go about doing something like that? Do you have any leverage as far as you guys are not on a label, correct?
No, we're independent right now.
So how would you go about getting yourself onto a bill? Like, you know, like let's say like you said, geez, I would love to get on this new fucking upcoming Megadeth tour, you know, and open for them. Who makes that call? How do you do that? Me not being somebody in the music business. How do you make that happen if you're a do-it-yourself band?
God,
Bags, gravel?
We're still trying to figure that out. You come across anything, let me know.
Stalk Dave Mustaine? I mean, you know,
I mean, there are certain tours, like, you know, I remember like the Vans Warped Tour and shit like that, you know, you could pay to play.
Oh, that's so lame though, right? Doesn't it seem lame? You know, I mean,
that's kind of like, you know, it's not really like paving the way correctly. I mean, You know, you're kind of going backwards. I mean, if you got to pay somebody to listen to you, then it's not like you didn't really earn it. You know, yeah, you get in front of the crowds and all that good stuff too. But you know, yeah. I mean, it's really just finding that one person, man. I mean, it's just you just gotta keep doing it and doing it and doing it and hoping you come across that person or persons or.
Right.
You know, that will want to help and push you along. You know, it's real hard, and sometimes you get lucky. You know,
that's got a lot to do with it, luck and timing, right? I mean, that could be a big part of it too.
It's, as far as I'm concerned, man, it's really like any of the real bands that made it, you know, put in the time. I mean, sometimes I think our downfall is like, you know, we don't put in enough time. I mean, sometimes you just gotta get in a van and just stay in a van, you know, and just live like shit for the rest of your life.
What we got to do is we got to get you on the next big Metallica go around, and you know, we got to make some headway. We got to get a James Hetfield phone number. Anybody out there, you know, knows his number? Lars, Kirk, we'll take anybody, right? I mean,
yeah, I'll do anything, man. Well, I'm gonna rephrase that.
Watch it now. You're on the internet. The internet's forever. Choose your words carefully.
There's a website for everything.
I mean, but with music not selling the way that it used to be, where people will go out and purchase your physical product, though, more than ever right now, though, performing live and being able to deliver live, though, is crucial at this point, right?
Yeah, it's all about live and merch.
Yeah, live and merch.
Your live performance and merch. You know, as far as making money off your music, it's unbelievably that I'm even saying this. It's like that's your last worry because it's not going to happen.
How do you do it? Right.
So, I mean, we just try to keep a good rotation of merch and merch designs, you know, and stickers. Stickers is always considered the best form of promotion, because someone will put your sticker on your car and that car is getting driven around every single day.
Yep.
Or your shirt, they might wear once a month if you're lucky, you know.
Right.
I fucking put stickers on everything, man. When we're out on the road, man, I always have stickers, and I am just anywhere I can put one, I put a sticker.
And you happen to have a name too that's going to kind of stick in people's brains, though, too. You know what I mean? Because people might go, you know, people might go to their phone and Google, what the hell's a Stoned Evergreen Traveler? You know what I mean? Like, maybe this is something that I'm not familiar with. You know what I mean? Because if you put a sticker up, people aren't going to know instantly, oh, this is a band or this is a movie, or you know what I mean? They're not going to know.
Yeah, and you know, when people is like, "What's the name of your band?" Sticker. I mean, right there, there you go. That's it. It's there, and our little logo, our that was designed from a friend, Eric Ray. The original, the potogram. You know,
potogram, the upside down marijuana leaf there. Yeah, that's cool.
That's been I mean, we've sold probably more of those shirts before we even started playing.
Right.
Just because of it. And people are always like, God, I hope you don't suck. But, you know,
right.
We've been pretty lucky, you know, we do.
But I feel like that's a lot bigger thing than people think of, though. And getting back to what we said before about your image and you know, and the whole visual that goes with it, though, you know, well, you do have a certain aesthetic, though, and again, I don't want to call it a gimmick, but you do kind of brand yourself, though, because, you know, that's very much like what Kiss did. You know what I mean? They branded themselves where they became comic books and movies and action figures, and you know, you could make a case for maybe they went too far overboard with how much Kiss merchandise there was, but the fact is that they put a lot of shit out there, man, so it was hard to get them off the brain. You know what I mean? They were doing something like, you know, very unique. They turned Kiss into more than just a rock band. You know, they turned them into, you know, an enterprise.
And like we, you know, keep, like you said earlier, trying to keep engaged so people remember you.
Right.
You know, and that's kind of what you got to do, man. You just got to keep putting your logo, your stuff, just keep it in front of. Yeah. You know, I always had one of these things where I always, you know, I didn't like wearing my own shirts, you know, because I thought it was weird.
But I mean your own band shirts on stage or out in public?
Yeah, out in public, anywhere. And you know, in the last year, we did a run of hoodies, which I should get your size next time we'll run one. I'll send one to you.
3X, baby,
I
3X.
should send you a care. I'm going to get you a care package anyhow of everything we can. So
yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. I would much appreciate it. Absolutely. And believe me, I will be your walking billboard. I will.
Yeah, I truly appreciate it. But you know, I started wearing my freaking hoodie, and before I knew it, just within a couple weeks of wearing my hoodie, we sold out. I mean, I probably sold 5 or 6 hoodies just in a couple weeks. And then people stopping and saying, "Hey, that's freaking cool." It's just like, okay, I'm an idiot for not doing this before.
Right. But when you don't have label support, though, all that merchandising, that all comes out of your own pocket.
We pay for everything. Yeah, we've been fairly lucky as a band, though. I mean, man, I don't know how we do it, but we've never been in the hole. Even on tour, our last tour, we broke down twice. We were in the shop twice with our van, you know, traveling around, and between all that, and we still came home with money ahead. I don't know how we did it.
Yeah.
But you know, we've I think it's probably going to change because we're trying to up our game a little bit more with doing visuals. We need to start doing videos. Videos is another thing to really start getting out there and doing. But we've been fairly lucky that, you know, we actually make enough money through gigging, and we do really good on merch. I mean, we have a good supply of merch. We have a lot of designs.
But now, when you say make a video, I don't want my audience out there to think, wait a minute, out of one side of his mouth, he's saying, you know, that they're a DIY band, you know, trying to make ends meet, but then they can shoot a video. Videos nowadays are not the $250,000 project that they were back in the 80s, where you went and got the big director and all that stuff like that. You know, in order to make a video nowadays, what does that process entail? Because obviously videos were big when I was growing up in the 80s, but MTV was also very much a presence and really an important tool in the music business. Yeah,
I mean, if you have the proper tools, you know, TJ, she's an extremely talented graphic designer and photographer. So, you know, she's able to do a lot of our computer stuff for us, and designs and all that stuff is really helping. But I mean, you could do it with a cell phone. I mean, you could even just doing a slideshow. I mean, just have their song out there and a slideshow of concert footage or whatever, and you know, little shenanigans and stuff like that. So it's pretty simple to DIY it. And then we have a lot of DIY friends that are doing the same thing. They're trying to become these videographers and everything. Right. So they're DIYing it. So, you know, I mean, the last video we did, all we had to, we had a friend do a graphic design for us, and it cost us a 40 bag of weed. You know,
that's not bad. That's not bad. Hey, weed. I like that.
Yeah, green is green currency.
Green is green. Man. Yeah, green is green.
So you know, we do trading. You know, it's like, you know, we'll you know, play shows for free to help out. You know, if someone does something, you know, there's a bargaining system. I mean, there's that real way of that humanity lived was by bartering, not, you know, raping each other with financial issues. You know, it's like you scratch each other's backs for favors. You know, I mean,
right.
So
I used to listen to a band back in the early 2000s, and then unfortunately, their lead singer got into an accident, and they're about to make a big comeback, their first show in a long time next month. And the name of the band is Maylene and the Sons of Disaster. Have you ever heard of Maylene and the Sons of Disaster?
I have not, but I love that name.
Maylene and the Sons of Disaster is basically, and there's no female in the band, but it's based on like the Ma Barker, you know, I mean, all your wrongdoings will be met with, you know, divine justice or whatever. And they have a very, that's just a Southern, you know, they almost feel like the kind of band that would be playing like maybe like while the Leatherface family, what clan was, you know, fucking murdering you or something, you know what I mean? But it's heavy, but not too heavy. But I just talked to the drummer the other day, and I thought, you know, getting back to the image thing, like this poster for their new show, because the lead singer got into this accident, he now has to wear an eye patch. And I'm like, you know what? Even that makes a fucking their image look more badass. It fucking does. It's unfortunate that he had to go through this. It was like an ATV accident, and it had him down for like several years or whatever. But look them up. I think you would like them, though. You know, that's also That's also a recommendation. I mean, but just getting back to that whole, I'm thinking of the image. I'm thinking of that comeback poster, and I'm thinking like, I think one of them is carrying like an axe handle. These look like a bunch of guys that just emerged out of the swamp. You know what I mean? And like they're kind of going for that kind of aesthetic. You know what I mean? With something I think you would definitely dig and appreciate.
And we do that too. It's like I think through my years of growing up a metalhead, I've always loved. I mean, even like with our merch, we're kind of going in that direction of more like epic metal style, imagery. And we actually one of our reoccurring characters is Death, the Reaper. And
right, okay, yep.
And kind of the rip off Iron Maiden, I guess, in a roundabout way. They have their Eddie, and we call him Tim.
Now, why Tim?
Well, of course, goes back to Monty Python's The Holy Grail.
Okay.
They have the one character where he looks like Death or whatever. He has the horns, and they ask him, it's like, "What thy name be?" And he's like, "Some call me Tim." So got it. We'll just call him Tim because we had a character. Our first album, Memoirs from the Dying. Yeah. The character on that album cover looked a lot like, I felt like Tim from
right.
So we're just like, his name is Tim now.
So this is going to be like an ongoing. So this is going to be like an ongoing type of mascot type thing.
Yeah. I mean, he's always present. He's been on both album covers because he's actually, if you look at Psychedelic Bloodbath, there's a cowboy on there. But if you look off to, I think, the right of the album, there's a head coming out, and it's Tim. And in Iron Maiden albums, there's always little hidden things that they have on their albums.
Right.
And so even if the album cover isn't based around Tim, I always want him somewhere in the background or within. Right. So it's kind of an ongoing thing. We use him for multiple, imagery. So yeah, Tim, Death, because a lot of our songs are about death. Whether it be serial killer or drugs, overdoses, or just society of people dying from war. I do a lot of songs about that kind of like led to the slaughter. I mean that whole song is about sending our soldiers to die for us, for their own sick, twisted ways. So and then the plague is another one. It's the plague is actually about human beings being the plague. So Death is always present in our band, and what better mascot to have than Death himself?
Now, are you able to pinpoint a point in time in your life when you think you developed this quote unquote fascination with death? Because I was watching a Howard Stern interview recently, and he had Metallica in the studio. And there was a quote that he brought up that said that James Hetfield wrote the song One during his obsession with death, which he admitted that he still has in one form or another, whether he's obsessed about reading about it or are preoccupied with thinking about it. But was there ever a point in time when you remember like really starting to think along these? Because obviously it takes a different kind of person. You're not just thinking about sunshine and rainbows all the time. You know what I mean? I'm that kind of person too. I'm looking at the dark, visceral side of things, maybe more often than is healthy, but I mean, it's just who I am. You know what I mean? Like when you really tapped into it and said, I not only want to write music, but it's going to take a dark twist.
Yeah. I'm not too sure. I've just,
I mean, you weren't a young Michael Myers, I don't think, right? I mean, you seem like you had a pretty normal childhood, right? I mean,
yeah, absolutely. I know my dad dealt with death a lot. He was, he worked for the Corps of Engineers, and when I was, young baby, most of the time, he was part of the natural disaster cleanup crew for the United States after any kind of catastrophe, like huge catastrophe. He was engineer that kind of led the cleanup, and part of their cleanup was looking for bodies. And I don't know if just that being part of my life, and you know, I saw my first dead body in Portland, Oregon. You know, probably when I was very young. I saw someone physically die violently on a motorcycle. My grandma was murdered. I had a cousin murdered. You know,
murdered by people that are still at large, or these people were caught?
They were caught. Yeah, everybody was caught. Yeah, some thieves broke in, and my grandma, I guarantee they gave her, she was a little fiery woman, man. I guarantee she didn't go quietly. And then my cousin was a business partner, but they all got caught. But yeah, it's you know, and then I've always had obsessions. I've loved horror movies my entire life. Always been fascinated with serial killers. I don't know why.
Me too. Don't know. And that's specifically why I brought it up, because I myself sometimes can't pinpoint it. You know, I'm a regular guy. I have 3 kids, 6 grandkids. I work in healthcare. I'm a normal guy. I've never been really the victim of a violent crime. I come from a 2-parent household, normal upbringing. I don't know why, but I have a serious fascination, almost to the point where, like, when I was younger, I had a friend of mine, and I don't know what the fuck we were thinking when we started doing this, but we started writing letters to serial killers, and not big serial killers. We were trying to find, like, the next tier down, because we knew the big ones sometimes wouldn't write you back, and a lot of them, they have so many appeals that they can go through that they don't really want to give you details. But I think our original plan started with, let's just see if we can get someone to just really tell us, like, what makes them tick. You know what I mean? I think that was always the fascination. Why are they doing this? You know what I mean? Like, not just in a rage, lashing out and killing somebody, but, like, why are you putting this kind of forethought into, I'm going to break into this person's house, and I'm going to cut off their right arm, and then I'm going to have sex with their corpse, and then I'm going to, you know what I mean? Like, that was just made me think, like, you know, what's going on in between here just fascinates me.
Yeah, and it's crazy because, you know, me and TJ years ago, the cadaver exhibit came through Washington.
Yeah,
you know,
I know you guys must have been first in line.
Oh yeah, it was very curious. And the one thing that really piqued my interest, as far as the way that the human brain works and what it is.
Yeah,
is when we got to the brain from a stroke victim, and you look at that brain and you look at that stroke, and it's like, you know, that's exactly what a circuit board looks like when a certain chip fries.
Sure.
And it's up that, and it's just like, you just think about it. It's like, you know, all it takes is for one moment or one, even because we're all not the same. I mean, they say they only know so much about the brain, anyhow. But you know, you just think about, you know, there's, you know, and that's why I kind of go on a tangent here about human society, and how we just expect everybody to be like this to move forward in society. Right.
Cookie cutter.
We're not all wired the same, and we got to start looking at, you know, and not leaving people behind, because some people are just born stupid. It's not their fault. I mean, they're just how their wiring and their circuitry is going. It's just like there's certain things not firing right. But yeah, and it's just, but you know, and then that's the obsession for serial killers and sociopaths and stuff like that. That just sometimes they just lack empathy, 100, or sympathy, 100%, and they just look at another person as just a science project, or hey,
expendable.
You know, I want to see what the inside of a person looks like. I'm gonna go fucking cut somebody open. You know, you just have those social, you know, tendencies, and it's curious, and it's kind of like, why is there being wired? How is that, you know? Ended up, and it's just super curiosity to have those conversations. Did you ever watch the TV show Mindhunters?
A little bit. I remember Mindhunters. Yeah. I remember Mindhunters.
And it was, God, I would have loved to have been those FBI agents, the ones that really, when they started really getting a collection of serial killers, and they were going around and interviewing them. It's just like, that's like kind of groundbreaking shit that you're just like, fuck, I would have, you know, to be able to sit there and talk with these people face to face to see what ticks and what looks behind. I'm sure it's like looking into a shark's eyes, just dead black.
Well, they were sending different like therapists in to talk to people like on the other side of the glass, I think, and try to do very much what I think me and my friend in our naive youth were trying to do. You know what I mean? Try to get, try to really crack open and get to the bottom of like what's ultimately what's making these people tick, I guess. I mean, but I remember one guy did write back to us, and I can't think of his last name, but he was doing something down in Florida where he had a cousin, I don't know, and they were kidnapping women, and apparently he owned like an orange grove or some kind of orchard or something, and I don't know, they had women in there that they were hunting in there and stuff, and I don't know, something crazy. And he started to go into a little bit of details, and then he started to pull back, and I didn't get any more correspondence from him. And then I think someone also made the mention to me like, are you sure these people are in for the rest of their life? Because you are giving them your address.
Yeah, that's definitely something. Hey, remember me, man? You guys were cool. Mind if I sleep on your couch for a while?
Yeah. So I guess I really had to reevaluate that. Like, let me make sure these people are never going to see the fucking light of day again. You know what I mean? That's a big sticking point right there that, that these people aren't going to end up on your doorstep, Yeah,
and it's crazy, man. And it seems like, I think that the humans are definitely a source of an enigma of this kind of problem, because if watching Animal Planets and just following animals, it's just like a lot of these kind of values are a human issue. And I don't know if it's just because of technology, of us understanding it. And right. I actually read this thing about social media and how it's kind of overstimulating the brain of people, and it's like sometimes being advantage of our species it kind of works against us from natural instincts. Because if you look at the animal, it's a very rare occasion in the animal world you have a rogue animal that just kills to kill. I mean, it's very rare. But in humans, I mean, we're wild cards. I mean, you can put 10 people in a room, and I mean, you just don't know what you're gonna get.
You're gonna have a Michael Myers in there, at least one.
Yeah, and
probably.
Yeah, and then how we'll fall apart like right away because we just can't socially work together as a team because everybody's got to be a leader. It's very prominent in the animal world. Obviously, they fight it out a lot of the time.
Right.
But yeah, I just kind of feel like as humans, we're spoiled. Truly spoiled.
Well, and the scary part is too with these gun laws is that I'm not so sure that everybody walking around with a concealed carry is necessarily the answer. Then how far have we progressed in the last 150 years? We're back to the Wild West again, where someone over road rage can just pull up next to you and just pull out their fucking 6-shooter and start going to town. I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily safe, and gun laws really don't affect me a lot. I mean, I'm not a huge hunter. I'm not like a gun aficionado or anything. I really don't care like where the gun laws go one way or another. I do think people should have freedom and be able to own guns if they so choose, because I don't think the guns are the problem. I think no matter what you make the laws, I feel like lunatics have gotten their hands on guns since the beginning of time, and they always will, no matter what you do. If somebody wants to find something that's bad enough that people want to go out and get a gun, or they want to go out and get Rick Simpson oil, or anything crazy, what I mean? Dealer's choice, whatever they want to go out and get, they can get their hands on is the point, I mean.
And you nail the point too. It's like, in my short point of view on that is like, as long as guns exist, I feel like we should be able to have guns. I mean, it's just because of those lunatics. Or I have met people that I'm like, this motherfucker's just waiting for someone to let them shoot them. I mean,
right.
I have no problem with it. I grew up with guns. I love guns. I mean, I'm not a hunter.
Yeah.
I don't believe in killing. I fucking save everything. I mean, the only thing I truly kill is mosquitoes, those pieces of shits.
Right. Yeah, they are bad. Yeah.
But I feel like I treat everything with equality of my own life, including insects and stuff. But with that being said, though, I mean, but but I'm a responsible gun person. I'm just like, I smoke a lot of fucking weed.
Right.
What you need to be doing is carrying a gun.
You better be laid back.
Yeah, because I think about it. Because even in that instant of being a hero, as soon as they found out that I smoke a lot of weed and I'm high, it's no longer about the hero aspect. I'm a drug addict with a gun, and I'm part of the problem. Right. So kind of like I don't want to be that part of that problem. I mean, fuck, you come in my house, man, I'll put as many holes into you as possible.
Sure. Yeah, but you're within your rights at that point, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
I have my rights here. So, but yeah, it's a touchy subject, but I'm the same like you, dude. It's like, honestly, man, when it comes to anything, when it came to the vax, when it came to guns, when it comes to abortions or whatever, that it's like, it's the person next to me, their responsibility to do whatever they do. I mean, as long as it's not pissing into my yard, I can give a fuck, man. It's kind of like Bill Bird says, but there's too many freaking people on the planet.
Yeah.
We don't have a natural predator to keep us under control other than ourselves. So I mean, if we got to kill each other, I mean, I guess that's an roundabout way population control. So I'm down with it,
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So
as long as it's not me,
Yeah. I want to get back to talking about music for a minute, but since the last time I talked to you, and I'll give a little bit of a brief backstory here. I had a couple of friends emailing me, and just people when I started doing the podcasting thing, they were just creative people who could help me kind of kick ideas around. Oh, here's different stuff you could do with your guest or whatever. So I started doing this thing a couple of episodes ago, where it's kind of like, and I certainly have like right or wrong answers in my own mind what these are, but they're like comparison questions, kind of like a lightning round thing. But I like to refer to it as throwing my guest in the furnace, and you're perfect for throwing in the furnace. So I'm gonna rattle off some, and you're just not gonna think. It's just rapid fire. Then I'll tell you how you did. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Kirk Hammett or Kerry King?
Kirk Hammett.
Ooh. How do you like your coffee? Hot or iced?
Hot.
Pancakes or waffles?
Waffles.
Beer or wine?
Beer.
Calling or texting? Settle this one once and for all. Calling?
Honestly, I hate them both, but if I had to do one, calling.
A bath or a shower?
Shower. Neither, actually.
Who's got time for a bath? Who's got time for a bath? Oh, here's a big one right here that has literally divided worlds. Toilet paper, over or under?
Over.
Yeah, only Nazis put it under. I'm convinced, right?
Yeah, it's hard to get to it.
How about books? You like a physical or an ebook?
I don't read.
No reading, huh?
I have my.
You seem like such a smart guy. That's going to surprise my audience. You're such a bright guy.
Yeah, I have a extreme hard time reading. My attention span is 0.
Fair enough. Greenland or Iceland?
Iceland.
You'd rather be in Iceland. Okay. Justin Bieber or Suicide?
Justin Bieber.
Okay. Kids or old folks?
What was that again?
Children or old folks?
Old folks.
You like old folks more?
Yeah, fucking kids.
Yeah, they're great. Jello or pudding?
Ugh. Jello.
I got you there, huh? Jello. Okay, now we're going to get into a couple of tough ones here, okay? South of Heaven or Rain and Blood?
Oh, fuck, dude. Rain and Blood.
And I told you they were going to get tougher. Johnny Cash or Waylon Jennings?
Johnny Cash.
Skinner or the Allman Brothers?
Skinner.
And last but not least, the most important one, worth 10 points, Roth or Hagar?
Oh, you got me on this one. Eddie Van Halen.
But you know deep down, though, that Roth is the heart and soul. You know what I mean? Come on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, David Lee Roth. I mean, that's.
You know what? I'm looking through your answers, and the most important thing, me being the host of this show, is that I have to think that they're right. And you know what, buddy? I'm not just saying this because you're here. I think I would have agreed with you on all of them. Thank God you said the toilet paper one, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like what was
I don't know where I stand on South of Heaven or Rain and Blood. That one was kind of torturous too.
Yeah, that's a hard one. I mean, really, when it comes to Slayer, man, it's
I was really surprised that you said Kirk Hammett's playing over Kerry King, though.
A lot of it, it's not so much I don't like one or the other. It's God, I'll probably get punched in the face for this. I like melody. I really like melody, even in guitar solos, and I feel like Kirk's got a little bit more of a package of things. I mean, now when it comes to fucking writing riffs, fucking Kerry King, dude. Yeah. I mean, dude, it's when it comes to riffs, man. That's one of those hard ones too. I mean, I'm just as much of a Slayer fan as I am a Metallica. Probably people will say shit about that, but I don't fucking care.
I'd say the one that I got a docky on, unfortunately, buddy, though, I think gun to my head, man, I got to take suicide if I have to listen to Justin Bieber. So,
yeah, I think the only reason why I say that is like I'm very, you know, when
you must love music.
Yeah, I love music, and it's like, you know, it's like you can't experience life if you kill yourself.
Yeah, you're right. I guess I'm just thinking of just having to, you know, I guess if I don't have to see his ugly little smarmy face and I just have to listen to his music, I guess I could tolerate that, I suppose, as long as there's no visual to go with it. You know what? I don't like to look at a kid like that, man, and just think that he's worth so much fucking money. Is that not infuriating as a musician when you see Justin Bieber worth $500 million and you're playing the fucking 10 people in a bar sometimes trying to wonder where the gas money comes from?
Oh, yeah. That is
fucking hell, right?
Hard pill to swallow. Woo. I mean, granted, I will say the kid's actually a talented kid.
He is. We'll give credit where credit's due. He's got a very punchable face, though.
Yes, and you know, the thing is, when you're listening to your music, what his music is like, if it came on, I'd be like, I wonder if this is what it sounded like when I was choking him.
I know. Okay, let's get back to the music now, because I don't want to diminish from the music now. So when can we expect a new? Your last album was Psychedelic Bloodbath, 2018. What the fuck's the hold up here, Kevin? 4 fucking years. Who do you think you are, Metallica?
Yeah. Oh God. Well, money is always an aspect.
I know. I'm just busting your chops. But when will we see a new Stoned Evergreen Travelers album, though? Is it coming?
Late winter, early spring for sure. Absolutely.
Late winter, early spring for sure. Okay.
We've been writing. I mean, I've had the album written for like the last. I pretty much finished it. You know, honestly, me and TJ, we got COVID last September, and it was when you still had the 14-day quarantine over here.
Yeah, I had it then too. Yep.
You know, and when I got it, I mean, honestly, I had a cough for about a day and a half. Other than that, I fucking felt fantastic.
Me too.
I used that downtime very productively, and I finished a lot of our songs during that 2-week period. It's been kind of a weird process. I mean, I'm not trying to reinvent the Travelers, but I think as a musician, I was always looking for something that I don't think I was actually looking for. I don't know what was going on with me as far as writing. I think a lot of it too is like quitting drinking. It's amazing how much that really affected everything.
Yeah.
About kind of finding myself again.
Right.
When you spend, 40 years drunk, and you sober up and you're kind of like, well, fuck, now I got to pay attention to myself.
Right.
It took a moment to find that again. And I think I've come to the conclusion that it's like I'm not looking for anything. It's time to just be and just do. And a lot of that is like I'm a metalhead. I love country. I love the genres. And I've always been. It's like I wanted to be a country player. I wanted to be this, but it's like fuck that, man. I'm a metalhead. And,
right.
And I think we're on a fast track now. And we kind of had things. Not like band internal. It was just I think we got lazy. The last 2 years I think kind of made us lazy.
Yeah.
As a band and actually getting shit done. But I kind of feel like we're back on track. We're making great headway.
Yeah.
Songs are coming along nicely. I'm super happy with the direction. What's
it like when you create music? What's it like when you create music and you're married to somebody in the band? Now, you guys aren't the first instance, I don't think, of probably like these people having a relationship or being married in a band. But, does it find like the dynamic, between like a bandmate and a life partner, how does that gel? Like when you guys sit down and try to create, I mean, is it just like just working with another bandmate, or does or is that dichotomy of being married ever come into it?
No, but I think we work well together. I think probably the only thing that would be is like, I monologue a lot, as you can tell. I had the
it's all right.
And I'll watch her demeanor change as I'm monologuing.
The more long-winded you get, yeah.
Standing there, and then she'll be leaning on her bass, and then she'll be like laying on her bass, getting the. And then, that's when it's like, I know it's like, okay, I know that look.
Yeah. Let's get to work.
Yeah. I model a lot. Me and the fiddle player, we're the big potheads of the band, and we'll go on tangents, so we'll do another practice quite a bit.
So you mentioned Dio as a big influence as far as like from a vocal standpoint in the metal in the metal genre, but because you've got such a country flavor to your music, who was the guy you looked at in country music as that outlaw, that idol, that was really like your guy or band?
I'd say probably, most definitely Hank Williams Sr. Big. I absolutely can't get enough him. And Hank Williams III. The guy is a monster. I mean, he's just a wonderful songwriter. He's one of those guys that we had the chance to meet him. And he is probably one of the hardest. I used to do a podcast years ago, and somehow my dumbass got the chance to go. I think I was the only one available at the time. So they sent the train wreck, the wild card. But when we got there a little bit before they pulled into town. And I mean, like, literally, dude, that bus, we watched the bus pull up, and the road manager came right out and to greet us, and he goes, yeah, let's go. Let me go introduce you to Hank 3. And he went back on the bus, and he's like, where's Hank? I mean, dude, he was the first guy on stage. We walked in, and he was on the stage putting on his gloves, ready to sling his own gear.
Yep.
I mean, he was a massive. We watched the whole process. We got to sit around for the whole thing, and then he puts on a 3.5 hour show every night. I was just blown away about his love of it, and I don't think he lost himself. I mean, dude, he's Hank Williams III.
Right.
I mean, he's
got a lineage. Yeah.
Lineage, and he could have done anything he wanted, and he did exactly what he wanted to do. And he was part of the process. I mean, such a hard-working guy, man. I mean, and we've been able to be friends with some of the other members, like Gary Lindsay that traveled with him, and they just, I mean, the guy fucking bust his ass, man, and he put out a lot of great music. He was in Super Joint Ritual with Phil and Zelmo. I fucking love that shit. And,
yeah.
My Hey God, and that's actually how I came across him, was through Super Joint Ritual before I even found him in the country industry. But I would definitely say, of course, Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
There's just a huge list, but I would say probably in the country, I'd definitely say Hank Sr., man. I mean,
do you think that there's ever a time when, and I don't even know if you've experienced this or not, but is there ever a time when, when you feel like there's been, heavy metal fans have approached you and maybe they don't like the country aspect of it, or country fans, the metal aspect of it, vice versa? Have you ever been tempted to sway towards one more than the other and phase one out a little bit? Or do you just love both genres so much that they have to be fused in your music?
I think I love them both enough that, I mean, we are who we are. And,
right.
I love having the upright bass because I think that just sounds so fucking badass and fat.
It does. And the only reason that I asked that is because obviously there are still a lot of country music fans who do flock out to shows. It has been and continues to be on a very nice trajectory. And I didn't know if the temptation was ever there to be a full-on, because you do have the stand-up bass player and the fiddle player, to be a full-on country band, and I don't want to use the term sell out, you know what I mean? But, was there ever that temptation to just be like, why don't we just be a country band? Country music is really thriving, because you do see country, the audience, they go out and buy the CDs, they flock to the shows. And I also wanted to get your opinion of that. And also, do you think too many people now are being considered country? It's not like back when it was the old Outlaws. Now any young kid from the suburbs that seems to stick a cowboy hat on is crossover country. I mean,
yeah, and we've seen that a lot. I mean, there's actually as far as like us goes, if that came up, it would probably be metal, because the only reason why I say that is because I wanted us to be a country band when we first started out. And when I started writing music, I came to find out really fast that I don't write country music.
So you're saying if you had to phase one out, you'd stay metal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Without saying, but TJ and Mischa, they're just rock stars on entertaining the idea of the madness that's in my head. Being able to make those instruments work with the way that I write, and it works out perfect, man. And I don't ever see that being phased out just because of that reason. We've figured it out. We've really found ourselves. And we do a lot of stripped down acoustic stuff.
Yeah.
But I would still say that, we're still not even country, even when we do it in that aspect. I still feel like we're more like I would call us more like gypsy jazz.
Will we ever see an acoustic album out of you guys?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
Because you guys feel pretty comfortable in the acoustic setting, because a lot of times it's difficult to pull off, because I think it puts you under the microscope as far as like when you fuck up. You know what I mean? It's amplified, it seems like. You know what I mean? Because the mistakes seem to be easier to catch when you're playing in a stripped down setting like that.
And I love it for that reason.
Me too.
When I practice dry. And what I mean by dry is I never practice with effects. I like to hear my mistakes so I can remedy them, or use them. I mean, sometimes the mistake is good. So we're very confident in that genre. We've done it for so many years like that, that it's part of us. We've done probably just as many acoustic shows as we've done electric shows. So. And we continue to do that, and have no. That's why we want to do an acoustic album, because we do it so much. And we have people that come out and see us. A lot of times, it's always been a running gag. Is like when people come see us, they're like, "Oh, I just couldn't wait to see what I actually get," because we've been so many. We've crossed over so much, and I like doing it because, we'll sit in on country bills, rockabilly bills, metal bills. We're kind of like. We can slide in wherever we want.
Right.
And I just feel like we're being ourselves, because that is, again, what I created. I created something that I don't give a shit. I mean, I just want to play.
Right.
And we make it work. So yeah, we'll definitely be having an acoustic album for sure.
So a couple things that are very topical in the music world right now. I'll tackle one. First of all, you brought up your friend in Superjoint Ritual. So, and it'll still be current news by the time I get your episode up, I'm sure. Where do you stand on the big Pantera reunion? Are you for it, against it? And do you like the guys that they got to fill the open spots?
Absolutely all the above. I am going. I can't fucking wait. I love everybody involved, everybody in the camp that's part of the family have blessed it. So, again, I'm not one of those people to like, oh, this, that, and everything. I'm just like, fuck, man. It's Pantera. It's Pantera's songs.
Right.
Everybody involved is okay with it. It's gonna be badass. Zakk Wylde was Dime's best friend. Charlie Benotny was Vinny's fucking best friend. They all will treat it with respect, and all that other bullshit. That's other people's problems. I'm all for it, man. I mean, I always say, man, if you're gonna go see a freaking tribute band, why not go see the best freaking tribute band in the world?
Absolutely. And another thing that's very topical right now, and I'm assuming that I'm going to know where you're going to stand on this by comments you just made within the last couple of minutes about the acoustic performances. But where do you stand on these big bands right now? Namely the ones out on the stadium tour. Kiss has been taking a hell of a beating lately with these click tracks, backing vocals, that kind of stuff. Do you give these legendary bands that have gotten on in age, do you give them a free pass because you're going to see the Kiss experience, but you don't care if Paul has blown out his voice or could sing anymore? Or do you want to see the real thing and see what Paul can do at this stage of his life, or Vince Neil or whoever? Do you care if they use the tricks, or do you want to see the goddamn thing and walk away pissed off that they didn't sound great, but knowing that you got the real live experience?
I mean, yeah, that's a slippery slope there, because I mean, I always felt like auto-tune has let people that don't deserve a career get a career.
Yeah.
But if you've already had a career and proved yourself, fuck, I don't care. I mean, you know, honestly, I mean, they've earned it, man. I mean, they're not a new band coming out, fucking the system by cheating.
Right.
So yeah, I have no problem with that. I mean, it's like, you know, if they're a brand new band and they were doing it, and I'm like, yeah, bullshit. It's like, you're not earning your freaking spot at the table.
Yep.
So yeah, with the old guys, man, it's like, you know, I'm fine with that, you know. I mean, because you think about it, you know, you go see like industrial bands or, you know, new wave bands. I mean, most of that shit's fucking digital. I mean,
right.
You know, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm glad they're able to go out and still do that. I mean, I'm hope I'm freaking 75 and still rocking it.
Right.
It's hard, man. It's
yeah.
You know, I turned 50 this year, man, and man, playing shows fucking kicks my ass. Going out on the road kicks my ass.
I'm right behind you. I turned 50 this next coming up January here, and I feel every bit of it some days. You know, it's hard.
I mean, I've even started using a little bit more reverb in my stage sound to, you know, kind of help with my playing. I got arthritis now, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
You know,
well, you if you look back in time, I mean, who can replicate what they did 20 years ago, though? You know, that's another pet peeve of mine, other than like the metal snobs that have to put everything into a subgenre. I also hate those people that just, if you don't like what someone's doing, you know, to actually go in the comment section in YouTube and waste that effort, to just move on and skip to the next video. These people that have to dump on people that are bold enough to put their art and their creativity out there for us to consume. If it's not your cup of tea, fine. But these people that just bag on, oh, I can't believe it. You know, he's still out there doing it and doesn't sound like what he did in 1977. You know, it just makes you want to blow your brains out. You know what I mean? Like, who can do what the hell they did 40 years ago? You know, I mean.
That's again, you know, the human nature of, you know, being, what's the word I'm looking for? Selfish. I mean, because, you know, a lot of these people, it's like, I'm the reason why they exist. You know, it's like, they're my band and this is blah, blah, blah. And, you know, and you know, I might've been like that years ago. But now I'm just, you know, I mean, I get it, you know, it's like, because, you know, I was sitting around, you know, watching, you know, Judas Priest, and they started doing a lot of the older stuff from like stained glass and everything. And I learned Saints in Hell on the guitar, and it was like I was sitting there playing, and I had the video, and I was like, cool, I'm gonna play along, and I'm like, holy shit, what key is he in? And well, now that Halford's older, they tune down. I think Ozzy does it too. A lot of bands do it. They tune down.
You got to make adjustments. Yeah, you're not who you were.
And it was kind of like, you know, and even with that, it's like, oh, you know, like, oh, well, he just doesn't got anymore, blah, blah, blah. And it's like,
I know. That's
who are you? It's like, can you even do fucking karaoke? I mean,
I know you're sitting in your living room, you know, behind your keyboard, you know, I mean, it's tough. And I think there's a high bar set, because you get a lot of people walking out the gates after a show, and they feel like they're cheated if it wasn't exactly what they remembered from their childhood, or exactly like how it sounds on the album. I mean, people feel like that's what you need to deliver them, and you need to deliver it to them in 1988 and now in 2022, and it better sound the exact same way, you know.
No, and I'm cool with bands even fucking their own shit up, you know. Sometimes,
sure.
Too bad, obviously. It's like, really, come on. But you know, I mean, but that's also, I always, you know, fall into respect as a musician, because if I'm a musician that's trying to have freedom of expression and just do what I can do, and my abilities change, my style changes because of my ability, it's like, if I'm trying to do that myself, why would I sit there and bitch at somebody else doing it? I mean, it's just an asinine thing to even consider.
Right. But in the same respect, though, I also don't like the idea of being told that, you know, it'd be different if you were going to see Kiss and you were saying, you know, come, you know, have the Kiss experience. Maybe just choosing the words more carefully and not claiming that you're going to get Kiss live. You know what I mean? Like, maybe you let them know, you know, you're going to get the Kiss presentation, which means we may be using some stuff to enhance the performance. You know what I mean? Hide the deficiencies in plain sight and just be open and tell people that then. You know what I mean? Then people can really make up their mind. You know, I mean, I feel like if I go and I know, okay, there's Paul Stanley. I love him. He's a rock god. I see him up there, and he might be having some help in his ears or, you know, in his microphone or being piped through the system or however they feed their little tricks in there. I'd be all right with that.
Yeah. You know, that's the thing too. It's like, you know,
but if I'm being sold a bill of goods where like you're promising that they're live and you're laying out, and obviously, you know, I'm sure you know, sometimes you're laying out big money for these tickets. I mean, I know a guy that just paid for a Bruce Springsteen ticket, $1,200. And that's not for any VIP experience. That's just for a fucking seat, and not even a great seat. This guy was by no means anywhere near the orchestra pit or the front row or anything. You know what I mean? So that's a whole other problem that I have that I have an issue with, is that these guys that become megastars, you know, like now it's just these guys who are like CEOs of company. Oh, going to see, got 2 tickets for Springsteen this weekend. I feel like sometimes the Metallica crowd has become that too, where you start to see these guys who are more like the Weekend Warrior type Metallica fans that are the ones down in the pit. And they push the price for us hardcore blue-collar guys, you know, out to the point where we either got to be in the nosebleeds or we can't afford to go at all, you know?
Yeah. And I think a lot of that, you know, I read somewhere, it's like, you know, the reason why this is happening is because people are willingly to pay these prices and not bitch about it. And a lot of that does come from the people that, you know, we'll spend $1,200 just to be that person that said, yeah, I went and saw Bruce Springsteen, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
But, you know, where it really comes down to, it's like, it's just that it's an out of control thing and just everything in life. I mean, like going snowboarding now, it's just like, holy fuck, you got to be rich to do that. I mean, you almost got to be rich to do anything in life these days. Yeah,
exactly. Yep, you do.
And that's what I loved, you know, when the Bay Area came back, when the Bay Area Strikes Back tour came through. I was just, it was badass because, I mean, it was like $40 for the tickets. I mean, and you're going to see freaking Death Angel, Exodus, and Testament, you know, and
yeah, it's pretty, yeah.
Some bands get it, some don't, you know. I mean, I would love to see Bruce Springsteen, but it's like, you know, fuck that. I mean,
not if I got to take, but not if I got to take a second mortgage out on my fucking house for a ticket, though. I mean, you know, it's a little much.
You know, and I get it too. It's like, okay, it's like if you built your own stadium and you have this giant lap, you know, and you're playing for 5 hours and you're giving us dinner, lunch, and breakfast, and
right. If it was this whole thing, I'm watching side of the stage, I'm hanging out in the dressing room, I get some pictures, I get a merch bundle, something, you know, where I'm getting an experience.
Yeah, that'd be totally understandable. When you just get a guy that's just up there with his band with barely a light show, and
right.
It's kind of like, oh, okay, man, get over yourself at that certain point in time, you know. And
right.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. The music industry has always just been it's just been fucked for musicians. You know, the whole purpose of the industry is the music, and usually the music just takes the back seat to everything.
It seems it. It's unfortunate that it does. Okay, so you're an old school metal guy. I just want to, one more time, I just want your opinion on this. If we took away the big four that we have been spoon-fed to believe is the big four, and I'm not arguing for or against any of them, but if you take those 4 bands that we know as the big four off the table, and you got to start from scratch, and you can't have those 4 bands, who's your big 4?
Death Angel for sure.
Okay. I like how you came out with them first and we're very firm, because I have them on mine too. I have one here too. I want to see if yours matches up. Death Angel. Yeah,
Death Angel. I'd probably say Overkill.
Okay.
Another one. Oh gosh.
This is hard.
Yeah, it's super hard. I mean, Testament wasn't part of the big four, so I mean, obviously Testament, but they were part. I know that they're probably one of the bigger ones. As far as like an underground looking. Ooh, golly, man.
And I'm not just limiting this to American bands, because once someone asked me when we were doing this one day if we were just talking American thrash bands, and I guess this could be any, but when we did open it up in our conversation to European bands on top of it, it made it a fucking hell of a lot even harder. Because then I started to think about bands like Creator and Gojira. I don't know if Gojira has had the longevity yet to be a big four band yet, but a band like Creator certainly is.
Yeah, well, Venom.
Venom, Angel, Sodom. There's a lot of good ones. Yeah.
Angel Witch, Satan, Pentagram. I mean, holy shit! When we start opening, I just straight I went straight to the Bay Area. So
now, don't feel bad that you can't do this, because I told you, and I gotta come clean here. I baffled you with a little bullshit there, because I really don't have one. I can't do it either. I strongly agree with the Death Angel thing, and I don't think there's a better thrash band that was album that was put out than Eternal Nightmare by Violence, a band that I love, and it is now back together again. Another Bay Area band. Being an East Coast guy, we don't have a lot of East Coast thrash. We have Anthrax, and so I would have to tend to agree with you on the Overkill thing, because a lot of that great thrash is coming from out west. But then I start to think about the creators, and I love Flotsam and Jetsam, and I love Sacred Reich, and I love Nuclear Assault. I love a lot of great thrash bands, and so it's harder than you think to wind them down to 4, especially if you're not going by commercial success.
Yeah, and that's exactly it.
I didn't even name Exodus. How do you leave Exodus off? They're a staple of the Bay Area.
Yeah, exactly. It's a really hard thing to do, because there was so many great ones that came. It's cool you said Sacred Right too. I mean, I remember, I forgot all about them. I saw them with Pantera back in the day.
I wore out that Surf Nicaragua EP like crazy, man. Remember the skeleton, the guy skateboarding on the top of the casket there?
Shit, yeah.
Just great music from back then. But you know what? I've talked to a lot of thrash bands on here, though. Thrash is really in a good place right now, though, because there are a lot of young thrash bands that are ready and willing and capable of carrying the torch. Yeah,
there's actually, I'll give you one right here. They're actually based out of Portland, Oregon, a band called Bewitcher.
Bewitcher. I'll write that down. Sometimes when you see me with the pen, I do write down stuff. I was very intrigued when you mentioned earlier our interview about the Sawyer family, because that instantly kind of clicked in my head that's got to be like a reference to Texas Chainsaw. So I thought that's kind of got to be right. I'm assuming it is, right? Sawyer family.
Yeah, well, I think, and I think might have the brothers. There was brothers, and I think their last name was Sawyer. So I don't know if they just kind of took that. Or, I never, that's a good question. I see them all the time.
That's where my brain instantly went to. But then I'm trying to think, in some of the Texas Chainsaws, though, man, in the early ones, I don't think they were the Sawyer family. Were they? Didn't they have a different surname? Hewitts. Weren't they the Hewitts in the newer ones? So Leatherface was Thomas Hewitt.
I haven't, I'm behind on so many good horror movies right now. I haven't seen any updated Chainsaw Massacre.
But in 1974, they were the Sawyers, though. It was on the mailbox and everything. You know what I mean? So that's what I thought. As soon as you said Sawyer family, my mind instantly reverted to that.
Yeah, I think you're going to like this. If you like us, I mean, they were a big, influence with us, too. We've got the pleasure to play some shows with those guys when they were still around doing shows and stuff. And solid guys. The bass player, Zach, who was the main singer in Sawyer family, he's playing with a guy named Sean James.
Yeah.
He's, oh my freaking gosh, man. He's Sean James and the Shapeshifters.
Okay.
Amazing songwriter, vocalist. I mean, fucking badass. And that's the nice thing.
And that's the nice thing about music, because it is really one of those gifts that truly keeps on giving, that you can share with people. You know what I mean? Like it's just constantly when I get people on here and talk to them, and they plug, or they throw the names of bands out there, who they like or who they fly the flag for. It's really nice to actually go and discover these bands. I mean, and then, jot them down and go look them up or whatever. It's still fun, because I think I grew up, as did you, when obviously you poured over that stuff. I mean, you got an album home and you read the liner notes, you read the lyrics, you read what bands they wanted to thank. And sometimes you got your bands, pre-internet through that, bands we toured with, bands we like or whatever. And then you just poured over that stuff like it was gospel, I mean, it was.
Yeah, and one thing that I really miss too is the magazines, man. Like
magazines too. Yeah.
Rip. You know, it was just like there was, because I mean, growing up in a very small town, I mean, that was the internet, was going to the store and subscribing to magazines and doing.
Do you think though that some of the mysticism behind our artists though has almost gotten to be too much? Like, I saw a bunch of people commenting the other day about us having to know about James Hetfield getting a divorce after 25 years, or I even remember I was talking about this on an episode the other day of being like, having like almost conjuring up a mental picture of these death metal acts and actually being terrified of the music, because you didn't know who was making this music. So you thought of all of them in the scariest possible form. And you couldn't get your hands on anything unless you, like you said, you found them in a magazine. But there wasn't a lot of info out there about your artist back then. So I think it made death metal a lot scarier. Then you finally would see him in a magazine. You know, the guys in DSI with a bunch of hair down in their face and just, you know, standing in some woods somewhere, just looking terrifying. You know what I mean? And you'd be like, oh my God, shit. They are scary.
Because back then it was about them and the music.
Right.
You know, I mean, the and that allure of who they were and what they were, you know, I kind of miss that. I don't like it's, you know, there's a little too much information, like you said, about the business. It's like, that's their business, man. I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, a lot of that, the family stuff and whatever. I mean, I follow some on Instagram. In fact, one of my favorite people to follow on Instagram is Gary Holt. If I can love Gary Holt.
Yeah.
And
of Exodus, of the legendary Exodus, because they are legends.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Oh, geez, man. I mean, that's where Kirk Hammett came from. I mean, it's, you know, but yeah, sometimes it's like when you get into that allure, I mean, I don't do a lot of research. I mean, it's just because you know, a lot of that I found that it was just like, that's useless information for me. I mean, it's really other people's problems are other people's problems. I got my own. Why would I worry about other people?
Right.
And, you know, and I keep it when it comes to music. I just try to keep it, you know, to exactly what I'm there for.
Right.
Because I don't want to, you know, hate a band for some stupid reason that doesn't involve me. I mean, it's kind of like the whole Pantera thing. I mean, their inner struggles and problems, that was their issues. I mean, that was between them.
Right.
And only them. I mean, I have no place to say otherwise why of anything. It's not my place. It's I'm not part of that family. You know, I just kept it to the music. That's what influenced me and what it did to me and what it got me through and how it makes me feel. And that's all I want to know. You know,
now,
I mean,
now in your band, was it always the plan for you to sing and play guitar? Was there ever a point in time where you ever wanted to abandon like one of those tasks and focus on the other? Or was this always by design that you were going to sing and play guitar? Because I've talked to more guys on here who have said, oh, I would love to not have to do both. I wish I could just concentrate on playing guitar or concentrate on being a front man and singing. Has that always been what you wanted to do? Was that always the game plan with your band?
Well, it's a lot of where it came from is, you know, I was only a guitar player, and I only started singing when this band started. Right. That's when I started, and honestly, my set out was to be a solo artist. I was the Stoned Evergreen Traveler.
Okay.
And I just wanted to be a solo artist because a lot of it, you know, came down to it's like not being able to sing limited what I could do as a musician. I wanted to play. I wanted to tour. I wanted to get out there. So I was just like, well, fuck it, man. I'll just start singing so I can at least do a solo thing and just get out there and start playing.
Right.
That was my only reason for being a singer. The Travelers, you know, me and TJ, we got a side project, you know, too, for the Apocalypse, where we do a lot of covers.
Yeah.
And Travelers and stuff, because I wrote it, so we play it. You know, but other than that, those are the only things I will ever be a lead singer in. I have no desire. I have the desire to become a better singer. I'm gonna start taking vocal lessons again to kind of help with some stuff. But yeah, I mean, I can never ever see anybody else singing for the Travelers. It'll always be me. Yeah. Because it is kind of my thing and my release. But man, I fucking hate it. I hate being a singer.
Do you?
I just love playing guitar. I mean, I don't mind doing background vocals and everything, but yeah, as far as my desire to be a lead singer, this is it, man. I have no desire to do anything else as a singer. Right. You know, I'm a guitar player, man. I love playing guitar, and that's about it. really.
So what's up with that poor drummer in the band then? On top of you delivering these monologues and these never-ending supplies of rants and your fiddle player on the same way, that poor guy's got you yentering on, and then he's got 2 chicks in the band. That poor guy must just be, let's talk about him a little bit, because we obviously focused on you. TJ is your wife. The other girl obviously stands out, Mischa, because she is the fiddle player. She dresses very sexy, great looking woman. You're blessed to be flanked by 2 very good looking women. But what about this poor guy in the back? What does he bring to the band?
Oh, he brings joy.
So he's bringing the joy. Okay.
He's a wonderful person to be around, man. He's our comic relief, man. He can always break the ice in a room.
And what is his name for people that don't know?
We call him Frey McGregor, but his name is Jeff Career. But his stage name, rock and roll name is Frey McGregor.
Okay.
Wonderful guy, man. He's a solid guy, solid drummer. I mean, when we all started playing together, I mean, he was just a straight up punk rock drummer. I mean, TJ and him had a little punk rock band. And man, to watch someone blossom as a musician, and take it to where he is now from where he's been, because I'm a mad scientist and I write complicated things, and I was also a drummer. He's obviously 10 million times better than me, but I understand drums, so we're able to communicate, and he's really able to take everything, and the best thing about him is if he can't do it, he'll fucking learn it, right? He'll make it work. If I write something, he puts in the time. He practices. I mean, he's like, holy shit, he actually practices. And he's just, and Ed on the road, man, he's a solid guy out on the road, man. He's and where he really shines as really kind of stepping up as a driver, with the gear, everything. I mean, he's a solid guy to have around.
How does that work when you guys are traveling between gigs, though, man? Is there stoned driving going on, and who does it well?
Oh, I fucking get high as shit when I drive. I love driving stoned. I mean, that's one of my favorite things.
I do too. I feel like I'm dialed in and I'm locked in and I'm almost better.
Yeah. Mischa rocks it stoned. We're the only 2 that really smoke pot.
Yeah.
So, but I fucking love driving stoned. I have no problem. Although there's certain incidents, as on one of our tours, I forgot, because we have a schedule, we have shifts, and I kind of wasn't paying attention to the shift, so I ate an edible and smoked a bunch of
No good story ever starts with I ate an edible, I don't think. But.
And then we got into San Francisco, man, and it was a height of traffic, and fuck, man, I was just driving the van and trailer, and when we got into the town, we were going to the venue, and there was this big park, man, and I just kept missing the turn, and it just, I wasn't panicking and everything, but it's just like, I'm all like, fuck, man, this park's there was our fucking turn, shit, and I've never had a problem with that, but and everybody drives. TJ drives, Mischa drives, Frey drives. We have if we have people traveling with us, Dogbite Harris and James Honeycutt, they take their turns driving.
Okay.
We got really good system. Everybody really pulls their weight. We're a machine on the road, man. To give an instant, man, we were in Wisconsin, and we were going to the Moon Runners Festival. It was we built this tour around this festival, and we're on our way to the festival. Right. We had a tie rod fucking break on our van.
That's not good.
And, we pull over, and it wasn't, this, fucking wham. I mean, everybody was a machine. I got on, I called AAA. TJ was calling rentals. Frey was out looking at what we could do, getting our gear. Mischa was making her phone calls. Dogbite was making his phone calls to the venue. We were just a machine, man. We know our parts. We got it together. We left the van on the side of the road. TJ and Frey went and got a rental. We all got in it. They were in the back of the hall. We made it to the gig.
That's that rock and roll spirit, man. Yeah. The show must go on, right? We'll get it done.
Yeah. Oh, the show always goes on. You don't
Show always goes on.
Cry like a little baby when shit goes down.
Right.
You make it happen, and we're just a well-oiled machine. I mean, that's we work well together. There's moments where it's like, okay, we got to give them a little space, give them a little me time.
Yeah.
We read it very well, but there's no meltdowns. I mean, we've seen the worst of situations, and we get through it smiling and laughing all the time. And we all try to keep each other up. We work well together. We're all really good friends.
Yeah, that's key. That's key. I think that's the biggest key in a band. When you hear about some of these legendary bands that still have animosity and any kind of dissension, because then those people, and God love the Rolling Stones, man. But if what they say is true, and Keith and Mick have really been mortal enemies and really hated each other on and off for so many years, they've already been past the point where where they've got more money than God, more money than they know what to do with. So why are they really going on then? I like to think it's for the love of rock and roll, but is it really for the money, though? Because I don't know if I'd want to get up and make music on the same stage as somebody that I didn't like.
Yeah, and I think it
boggles my mind.
Yeah, and that point, it does get to where it's got to be about the money, because, we don't make money, and we can't fucking wait to get back out there.
Right. That's the true essence and spirit of rock and roll right there. Yeah.
And it kind of goes back to part of the whole movie thing. And part of my premise is like, being a serial killer band, and we get away with it. And the reason why I felt like that's the part of the story is we never get caught is because we all do work so well together. Right. And we're always on the same page that we would never turn on each other. Right. So, in any situation, we're all 100% in. And make it happen. And it's been this has been some of my best times out on the road together with these guys. I mean, it's just like everybody just really, we all get it, man. It's we're there for the same reason. And we're hoping for the best, man. And if the best doesn't happen, it doesn't really matter. This band is a lifer. Right. I'm
glad to hear you say that. Good.
Yeah, there's no reason, because I think a lot of it too, especially with our age now, we've all gone through the bullshit. This is another attest to my band and these guys as my friends too, is when I stopped drinking, it's like, well, I'm still touring, and
Right.
When my very first tour back to do as a non-drinker, they all really didn't drink on the tour just to kind of help me through it. I mean, they had their moments, and I didn't ask them of it. And if they did, it's cool. But they really pulled together as a team to help me get through it, because it was a blast, man. It was one of my favorite tours. Right. We did it together, and they were there for me. They, supported everything. We support each other on everything. Obviously, we're all, we're humans. I mean, shit happens. We get, little quirks here, but you get past it really, easily. But yeah, I mean, when someone's going through something, I mean, there's no question. It's like, it's no like, oh fuck, you can't do it. Blah, you dick. It's like, hey, cool, man, no problem. We'll either catch the next one, or we'll do it as a 3-piece, as a 2-piece, or whatever. Right. And you adapt. And there's no animosity from the other players of doing something without them. Right. It's just really, we're a unique band that, we can fit pretty much into anything, and we just do whatever is right for that moment. We're not afraid to change things around. I mean, we have our wants. I mean, I kind of have people that I just don't work with anymore for other reasons, but it's usually just it's, I don't know, man. It's been a unique adventure, and I mean, not to float our own boat, but I really feel if we're a band that kind of deserves something, man. I mean, I agree. That's kind of what I touched. That's what I touched on earlier. I feel like you put all the right pieces together, from a visual look to a sound look to an aesthetic.
to an image, almost to a brand. And that, as you're going forward, you're talking about the character that appears on the album covers, and from a mascot standpoint, you seem to have a lot of the things, ingredients that I would be thinking like, yes, the band needs this. Yes, the band needs this. Yes, we got this, check. We got this one, check. You're right. I'm fucking pissed. Now I'm fucking pissed. I want you guys to be fucking successful. God damn it. I'm going to make a call to Lars. You're getting on the next Metallica tour, buddy.
I hope so, dude. And I'll do that with proud, man.
I'll make it fucking happen. But so here's something that is evident. You don't really have the glam look of a Rex Ruger, but putting that aside, though, man, I still would offer you a job and alleviate you of your frontman duties should you want to play guitar in my new passion project, Love Sword.
Oh shit, man! That sounds fucking badass.
Yeah. I mean, I built a good camaraderie with you, so maybe I won't even have you audition. I've talked to a couple other guys. Maybe I'll put them through their paces and I'll just stamp your ticket, man. Like, you're in. You're my lead guitar player.
Oh shit, man! If you can do that for me, I'm in.
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't I? You know what I mean? And plus, why wouldn't you want to jump on board and be part of the backing band of the greatest frontman to ever do it? Here we are, a couple of legendary frontmen just shooting the shit.
Dude, I mean, you got the hair for it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm a little more legendary than you, but I mean, I'm willing to carry you. I mean, that's what bands do for each other.
Cool with being carried too, man.
There's nothing wrong with it. There's no shame in it.
I have no problem being the musician in the backseat, man. I have no problem. If I'm playing, I'm happy.
And then, it's kind of a win-win, because then you go back to the Travelers and you've been playing behind me for so long that you're a better frontman for it.
Absolutely. You got to learn from the best, man.
I like hearing you say that, buddy. I really do. That means the world to me, man. Listen, man, I mean, me and you sat here and we entered it up even longer than we did the last time, man. But people are going to be like, boy, these two got a lot of fucking hot air, but we do.
We got the gift of gab, man.
I know. And I just want to tell you in closing that I am available for Stoned Evergreen Travelers shows by playing my spoons.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. We're in. I mean, I'm totally down with that. We love playing with other musicians and doing whatever we can. I mean, that's the brilliance of our band. Again, is it's an open palette, man. I mean, I have no problems with trying anything. I mean, there's
so you're saying that me and my spoons could see a jam session
damn
at the very least.
Dude, fucking Soundgarden, man. Look what they did.
I know. You know what? Who knows? You may have found the missing ingredient in the Travelers right here in a spoons player.
Yeah, it's all about the spoons, man.
I mean, you figure then you have it all. You've got this crazy maniacal lead singer who looks like he's got this, some kind of a serial killer, religious cult, leader look to him. And then you've got your cool fiddle player. Then you've got your wife playing the stand-up bass. Then you've got the David Lee Roth guy who plays the spoons. We'd have it all. We'd have it all.
Assless chaps and doing some freaking karate kicks.
I'm already thinking of myself as the silent fifth member of the Stoned Evergreen Travelers, man. In my book, it's a done deal. And I've got you down as my lead guitarist for Love Sword. That's it, buddy. We're collaborators now.
Dude, let's do it, man. Take over the world.
Listen, man, I really want to see you up in the Northeast, though, man. You got an open invitation, man, when you come this way, man. Whatever you need, man, a place to stay, I mean, whatever. I mean, I would just love to see you guys in person, And
yeah, brutally. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, we need more hours to gab.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, man, I am a huge fucking mooch, so I will definitely send you my fucking address, man, for merch. I love that idea.
Yeah, nope. We'll definitely hook you up, man.
I'm texting you as soon as this transmission is over, buddy, because I love everything that you guys do. I really do. Anything you guys put your footprint on, I'm there for you, man. I really am.
I truly appreciate you, man.
Yeah. And I appreciate you wasting some time with me on a Sunday night, man. As always, man, I love talking to you, brother.
This is never a waste of time. This is never a waste of time.
No, you're right. You're right. I like to think of that too. I look at these podcasts as like, even if 50 people watch your episode, that's 50 people that may not have known who the fuck you were before that. I don't think that as long as you've got the time and can squeeze a podcast in, if somebody were to ask me that and I thought there might be a chance of even a dozen more people that might discover what I'm doing out there, you know what I mean? Because you never know like what that dozen turns into, I mean.
Yeah, and that went back to that whole conversation we had about the clubs. I mean, whether there's people or 1,000 people, it's like you're either in or you're not.
It's
And
the age old. It's the age old. All press is good press, I guess. I mean, at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, I mean, and in this kind of world that we live in, man, it's like anything you can do to get yourself out there, you just gotta, work it. Even if I'm old school, and sometimes you just gotta work with new school, man. It's just whatever it takes, I mean, it's hard. It's a freaking hard.
I don't envy it at all. I don't envy. I never thought that I would live to see the day, man. Like where people wouldn't even give a shit about going out and buying a CD or having a physical product no more. Where literally our stereos would be our phones now. It's a crazy, we're almost about to see. There's been a resurgence of vinyl, but once vinyl, if that ends up being just a passing fad, we could very well see the death of a physical product in music. There might not be no more CDs or albums to actually go and purchase.
And what's the saddest thing about that is the artwork.
I know.
I mean, look. I mean, that was the best thing about records.
I know.
And that got me excited. Is like going to the record store and flipping through and going, "Holy fuck! Look at that album."
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's just.
I know we're kindred spirit. I know we're kindred spirits in that sense because I feel that same way. There used to be a very palpable excitement about going and picking up somebody's new album.
Yeah, the artwork was all about, like you said, the artwork, the sleeve, the album,
everything, liner notes, everything. Yeah, it was just all part of the experience, man. Well, hey, listen, man, give my best to TJ, man. I would have been nice if she would have been able to be here. We'll catch up with her next time, man. But I'm always thankful for the generosity with your time, man. Thank you.
As from you too, man. I truly appreciate you. Yeah. I mean, it's I like meeting people that are totally into what we're doing. It makes everything worth it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, man. It was good talking to you. We will definitely do it again, my friend. Definitely, man.
Yeah, and please do send me your address because we will get you hooked up.
I will. Kevin, thank you very much, buddy.
Thanks, brother.
All right, talk to you soon, buddy.
Yeah, you too, man. See you
later. That is Mr. Kevin Pfefferle from the Stoned Evergreen Travelers. Listen when I say that. I got a little bit of dry mouth because we've been yentering it up for the last 2+ hours. Kevin Pfefferle. That is the lead singer, guitar player of a very interesting band, the Stoned Evergreen Travelers. 2 chicks, 2 guys, kick-ass music, a nice fusion of outlaw country and kick-ass fucking hard rock / metal. This is the fucking band to check out, man. They got it all in spades. Sexy fiddle player that dresses like a dominatrix. There's Kevin with his crazy, epic Viking beard. Kick-ass drummer. Kevin's old lady playing the stand-up bass. They truly have it all. Go check them out. Great people from out in the Pacific Northwest, the Stoned Evergreen Travelers. Go check out their shit. Their last album was 2018's Psychedelic Bloodbath. They also have 2016 Memoirs from the Dying. These are awesome albums. These are well-crafted, kick-ass fucking songs about murder, macabre, crazy shit, man. They are a unique, if nothing else, a unique band. Do me a favor, PodScum audience. Go check them out. I implore you. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Until next time, remember to take it easy and keep it sleazy.